Hello and welcome to The Hill is Always Greener, a show where four friends and sometimes a guest have chill discussions about Sonic the Hedgehog and then have those same discussions again 3 years later. I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy, and the only thing left of me is the essence of my being reflected in the stars in the sky.
I'm Faulerro, and the only thing that remains of me is the SMS of my being, Sega Master System.
I'm RockTheJake, and I forgot that I had the Super Peel out.
I'm JezMM, and I've played these games far too... Well, I've played two of them far too much. The other two I've played a reasonable amount.
There is no such thing as a reasonable amount when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, true.
Whoa, a third-time guest. We can't get rid of you.
Yeah, I've actually been on all the episodes. I've just been hiding in the corner, keeping quiet.
I would wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah, usually playing these games to pass the time.
To clarify, yes, we are revisiting another episode we previously talked about. We're going back to our third episode where we talked about the 8-bit Sonic games for the Sega Master System and Game Gear, with a little bit more discussion this time, both because we aren't constraining ourselves to an hour-ish for episodes anymore. Remember when that was a thing? But also because we also wanted to talk about a couple other 8-bit Sonic games, basically the quadrilogy, tetralogy, whatever you want to call it, Sonic Blast doesn't count, of Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic Chaos, and Sonic Triple Trouble.
Ironically, Triple Trouble is not the third one. I just realised that now as well.
You would think.
Quadruple Trouble.
That's what I thought, actually, so I'm already learning.
I know. I mean, I found out a funny thing I didn't realize was that if you play these games on Sonic Origins, they are called Sonic Chaos and Sonic Triple Trouble, but the ROMs they use must be the Japanese ones that call both games Sonic and Tails 1 and 2.
Wow,
Is that like the title? Is on the actual ROM?
Those were the Japanese names, yeah.
Oh, I know that's the names. It's just like they actually called them that in the in Sonic Origins, because obviously when I load it up, it still shows the Triple Trouble title screen. Huh.
Yeah, really? Because I guess I'm playing an American digital copy on my PS5, and it calls it in the description, and maybe in the screenshot it has it, but then when you boot up the game, no, it's Sonic and Tails.
Do you have your box art in the game set to Japanese?
Oh, I do. That's probably it.
Oh, there you go. You've weebed it up. Your whole Origins has been compromised.
But weird that
Japanese
it wouldn't change the
ideology.
description, or it wouldn't change the description, or even mention the alternate titles in the English description. Huh?
That's interesting.
That's kind of neat.
Because the title screen for Triple Trouble has Sonic and Tails on it. The title screen, but in Triple Trouble itself over here. Nice, off Tails. This isn't about you.
Yeah.
So he did die.
Yeah.
I was going to say, to be fair, those Sonic Origins descriptions are all sorts of wacky anyway.
Yeah.
I remember it saying I can't remember. It said something very offensive about my precious 8-bit Sonic 2 that implied it was not a separate game in some way. But
I'm guessing if I set my, my museum settings to the European box art, Sonic Drift 2 would be called Sonic Drift Racing. Ooh.
That's true. Since we did not have you on the show when we did this last time, Jez, what is your history with the 8-bit Sonic games? And this is the part where I just let you go for like 15 minutes.
Well, let's see. Can we cover my entire lifespan? Because I play them about like once a month.
15 minutes.
No, I did go slightly into it when I joined you guys for the Sonic 1 episode. I didn't have a Mega Drive. I had a Master System. I thought these were the original Sonic games, because why on earth would the 8-bit games come out after the 16-bit ones? This was my childhood with Sonic, basically. I sort of experienced the 16-bit games through going over to friends' houses and through Sonic the Comic as well, with their coverage of because they pretty much never covered anything from the 8-bit games. All those stories and game references were based off the Mega Drive ones. So, this basically was my Sonic, and it left me with a lot of interesting impressions about the series that it has failed to live up to because of how weird these ones are.
Well, that's considerably shorter than 15 minutes. Yeah, good job. Summarising your whole life in that much time is pretty impressive, actually.
I feel like pretty much anything else that I could say about them will probably come up naturally in the discussion.
That's probably true.
They're really, really good. Is that a spoiler for the rest of the discussion? No. Debatable.
Oh, it will be debatable. In fact, it will be debated.
There
on
will
this
certainly
episode.
be debate. I'm sure we talked about this last time. These were largely not a part of my childhood growing up. I was aware of them just through, magazine ads and TV commercials. I still remember the Sonic Triple Trouble commercial with a weird kid on the bus talking about all the bad guys. But until I got to play the Game Gear versions in Sonic Adventure DX, I just was not exposed to these games outside of maybe once or twice getting to play them at a store kiosk.
Yeah, they're a lot more. They have a lot more cultural relevance here in the UK, I think. I don't know why. We just liked our Master Systems here. Maybe not to the degree of the Brazilians who still have theirs being made now, but there's something about these ones, for all the kids, like I mentioned in the episode 3, for all the kids who couldn't afford a Mega Drive, like the JezMMs of the world, you ended up with a Master System Sonic. And
I was going to say, I couldn't even afford a Master System. We got given it for free to borrow, and it ended up keeping it for some reason. I was very small, so I don't know whether my dad paid them off or something.
I won't tell.
But it was one of those things where it's okay, my friend has let us borrow his kid's Master System for a week, so you can play these games, and we loved them and sort of begged, can we please keep this, because we were stupid children who didn't understand the concept of having to give something back. And for whatever reason we did, to the same degree, my copy of Sonic 1 was also lent to me by a friend, because I only had Sonic 2 at first. I had Sonic 2, Cool Spot, and Streets of Rage 2, and then Alex Kidd in Miracle World built into the system.
I was going to ask about that. I was
right.
Was it built? Yeah, because Sonic 1 is often built into many versions of the Master System.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had one of the snail maze models.
So a lot of my experience playing Sonic 2 was switching it on and praying to God that incessant Alex Kidd title screen music didn't kick in, because it hadn't read the cartridge properly. So I ended up borrowing Sonic 1 off a friend who happened to have it. I traded him my Sonic 2 for it, and vice versa. And then during a stint where I somehow had both copies, both Sonic 2 and Sonic 1, his mother gave away his Master System, so he's well, you might as well keep it, because I can't play it anymore. And so I did. I didn't bust out the Master System again to play for this episode, just because I'm afraid that if I touch it, it will explode, and I'm just happier not knowing whether it still works or not,
Schrodinger's Master System.
Exactly.
I literally had that happen with not my original Genesis, but one I picked up, I think, at a Goodwill, and my original Pico, where I'm I'll drag these out and hook them back up. They'll still work. Nope, neither of them do, and I haven't had the time nor the strength of soul to try and fix them myself yet.
Yeah.
So yes, you're better off just not knowing.
Yeah.
Let's jump in, starting with the original Sonic 8-bit in 1991. That it of the bangin' Yuzo Koshiro soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
I did not refresh my memory on what I said in our original episodes, so you can't hold it against me legally. I don't remember. I'm still amazed at how they managed to translate because Sonic 1 is unique in that it is probably the only one of these games you could say is a direct counterpart to the 16-bit version. And I know it's not perfect. Even the way I played it isn't perfect, with save states on a emulator. I'm still really impressed with especially this first game. I like it a lot, and it's super adorable. I love that you made our chat window your original art for this episode, because I love that there's a little alternate 8-bit Sonic with his little orange shoes and his different sprite, and it's great. I love this game.
Yeah, I never thought about the fact that he had... I was re-listening to you guys, your episode 3, before coming on for this, and I completely forgot about the orange shoes comment. I never read them as being orange, because you just accept how games looked back then. I knew his shoes were meant to be red, and this was just representative, but yeah, now I can't unsee it, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of what you have to deal with when you're dealing with limited color palettes and older hardware.
True.
Yeah. just using the hardware, but I like it. It's just like a little alternate rift.
I do really like his sprite and Sonic. I mean, obviously I do. I grew up with it, but still, I really like how he's a little chunky guy compared to Mega Drive. He's like got a nice little sort of rectangle shape to him without it looking bad, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and yes, we know he has a nose. It's just hard to see.
It's a lot less noticeable on the Game Gear version, but it is there. It's squashed in there right under his eyes. Like there is the suggestion of a nose, but it just looks very funny.
The breathing problems with Sonics on Game Gears are getting out of hand. They can't breathe properly.
No, people want these designer hedgehogs. And they don't think about the ethical concerns.
Yeah, like you said, this one is probably the closest one to being a direct translation of its Genesis Mega Drive counterparts. We've got Green Hill, we've got Labyrinth, we've got Scrap Brain, and then the slight divergence with Bridge, Jungle, and Skybase. But I feel like the spirit is still there, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder if they had all the zones worked out for Sonic 1 when they were making this possibly around the same time. Because, I don't know, it feels like an earlier version of Sonic 1 in a way. And they were just like, oh shit, we don't have levels 2 and 3. Quick, throw some darts at the archetype board. Jungle. Bridge?
I would be more willing to believe that if we had a level with a bunch of UFOs in the background.
I was going to say, though, the vibes of the 8-bit one are a little bit more in line for me with some of that weird concept art, and I don't know why. I think it's because, the locations are a bit more grounded in the 8-bit version. If you know what I mean, we never get anything quite as wacky as Springyard.
That's true.
In that early concept art, you had Sonic in much more natural environment. Obviously not the ones that became the famous one with the sun motif, which became Golden Capital and Superstars eventually after all those years. Not so much those ones, but when I think back to the before they came up with Badniks and stuff like that, where there wasn't that technology angle,
the little monsters that Sonic would have to
somehow 8-bit Sonic feels slightly more in line with that because we've got these really simple concepts what if a green hill? What if a hill with bridges? What if a slightly more jungly hill? We've got 3 levels in a row, which are kind of grass levels, if you know what I mean, which is weirdly uncool for a Sonic game.
It is, but I also feel like it's a better kind of transition from the, natural environments to the more technological ones. And there's even, that kind of halfway point where it shifts up higher in the map, and that's where you get to Labyrinth, and it starts really getting a little more, kind of artificial.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite what I was just saying about saying it was uncool, I absolutely love that aspect of it as well.
I love seeing the actual map of South Island and seeing as you progress up it and the smog sort of appears as you go higher and higher.
Yeah.
As a kid, when I was slowly working my way through this, getting game overs pretty much at the end of every session and maybe occasionally seeing a new level, when you saw that map screen change, that was a phenomenal moment.
I really like that, and I might just be, not to repeat a story that I'm sure I shared on the original episode, but something about Bridge Zone that feels like it's always been in my Sonic memories, even though I know it wasn't. And I think I figured out it's because the song sounds a little bit like Tails' themes from both Sonic Adventures. And so when I hear that in the little, Master System chiptune, it's just something about it. And I'm like, oh no, I've always been in Bridge Zone. It's great. I love it.
It's such a nostalgia evoking song, even if you didn't grow up with it. It's just got this wistfulness to it.
Plus, it's also reminiscent of a Janet Jackson song as well, I think. What was it called?
Yes, which came, a year after this game?
So, yeah, Janet Jackson, you're not slick. We know you were playing Master System Sonic 1. Listen to that Yuzo Koshiro soundtrack.
A Jackson associated with the Sonic soundtrack. Unthinkable.
Yeah, I've played Sonic Origins. There was nothing in there that sounded like Michael Jackson.
Touché. I will say, I think that, for the hardware, they do a pretty good job of translating over the physics, even if it's a little it can be a little wonky sometimes But I think that by and large, it's a pretty close approximation. One thing I am not a fan of in the gameplay, though, is hiding the Chaos Emeralds in stages. I do not care for that one bit.
I think Sonic 2 does it better because they're always on the second act, and so you at least know when you need to be searching for alternate pathways. Sonic 2 also does it better because usually they're just on alternate pathways instead of like Sonic 1, it feels very random. Like, oh, they're just up on this, some ledge you wouldn't know was there. I'm a little split on it. Because I don't know if I would just rather them be in the special stages these games have, or I'm not sure. I understand why it would be frustrating.
I did actually manage to find them all by myself as a kid without a guide, which is something I never did with Sonic 2, even though that was my precious childhood one. Sonic 2 I didn't beat until I was well into my teenage years and had access to the internet, and I was able to look them up and be like, oh, that's where they are. Only with a couple of them, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, they're in. I will say, like in Sonic 1, they're in places where you can possibly find them if you're like just exploring around a little bit, or even just in places where you just like you can might pass by. Sonic 2, you got to go like going on a massive journey up through the skies into really unintuitive places to get those emeralds. They really make you work for them.
And that's the thing that I think I take the most issue with is the fact that they are not. It's not as easy to get the emerald, to even find the emeralds, let alone get them. Because it's like, it reminds me a lot of trying to find those springs in Sonic Advance 1.
Oh, God.
And it's like, I do not like the idea of being limited in, my ability to find the Chaos Emeralds and have them, if you miss them in this one stage, you can't get the good ending. I feel like that is very limiting in a way that is sort of antithetical to the way they did it in the 16-bit games. And it's like, yeah, that's also, it's also limited that way in, Sonic Advance or Sonic Pocket Adventure. But those games also have save systems that let you replay levels. So it's a little more forgiving in that regard. Whereas, with these two, if you miss it, you're done. And I don't like that.
I said this in the Sonic 1 episode, but one of my small gripes with the special stage concept generally within the series is often the good ending is locked behind you being able to master this mini game that is completely unrelated to the main gameplay. However, that doesn't actually, if they were in the special stages of Sonic 1, either version, that doesn't really apply because both the special stages in this Sonic 1 and the Mega Drive 1 are based off the usual gameplay. It just has a really weird level design. And I kind of like that idea for special stages, like giving you a weird challenge but using your normal moveset kind of appeals to me. Because if you don't enjoy a special stage minigame, you're just going to have a horrible time, whereas at least everyone's here for the platforming, Like, I will say this, well, we'll get to the special stages, but they are pretty fun in this game.
I think what it is with these games in general, is when you're playing them again for a podcast and you're rushing through them, it's not and you're like, I just want to get to the end and get the good ending. It can be a lot more frustrating than say if this was the one game that you had to play at home as a kid, and you're like, well, I've just got to keep playing this over and over until I master it. I feel like there is something to be said about.
That's why it's called the Master
like
System.
There you go. I told you that right in the title. Got to master that system.
Yeah, not to pull the curtain back too much, audience, but I wasn't able to finish all of these, unfortunately, and I'm also like exhausted, can barely stand up and down. So I am keeping that in mind with my experience. If I say like, oh, I found this part frustrating, it's probably because I was falling asleep while trying to play it, not because it's a bad game. No, I liked all four of these very much.
Yeah, I don't begrudge any of my podcast co-hosts for not finishing all 4 games that I prescribed for them this episode. I just did because I'm like that. So
I also did not finish them, but I'm giving myself the excuse of playing on a real Sega console with no save states available. So
that'll do it.
I just had a terribly busy week, so I barely got to play any of these. I will have. I'm not going to have a whole lot of thoughts about Sonic 1 and 2. I will have some thoughts about Triple Trouble and Chaos when we get to those. but I can at least talk about like the aesthetic values of all the games, because I like to talk about that anyway.
It's got good music, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Music.
all of these are fantastic. I'm not going to unmute the credits to Sonic 1 I'm watching because I'll think Dave and Chris are here.
It's fine. At this point, I don't think of STCTP with that tune unless it gets interrupted halfway through with their 16-bit version of Hey Big Spender.
Yeah.
But on the subject of the music, though, it is interesting. I think, and of course, we mentioned this the first time we talked about it, but it's got a few of those Masato Nakamura tracks in there, like the Green Hill, the Sonic theme. But even like levels that were like reused other than Green Hill, they're as original compositions by Yuzo Koshiro. And I don't know, I'm real fond of some of these. Like the version of Labyrinth here kind of suits the vibe of it being a little
I will
darker
always
and
prefer 8-bit Labyrinth over 16.
And Scrap Brain is... Oh, there's something about Scrap Brain that suits this sort of like maze-like version of Scrap Brain as well. I don't know, man. It's a good-ass soundtrack.
Yeah, I might be repeating myself from the Sonic 1 episode here, but I feel like Labyrinth kind of fits a sort of upbeat, going to the swimming pool kind of vibe, whereas the 8-bit one really sounds like you're... And I mean, it suits the visuals as well. You've got this dark aesthetic for the 8-bit version. You really feel like you're fighting to stay alive.
See, I always got the vibe from Labyrinth of like, upbeat, like the kind of weird upbeat jazz you get in like a factory thing where the conveyor belt is moving too fast, I Love Lucy style, and you're trying to move the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do get that too. It's hard to describe what I mean when I say it sounds more threatening, because it is like a really jazzy number.
Yeah.
It's also kind of minor key, though, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, simple as that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the song that they use for Labyrinth in the 8-bit it's got, you could definitely, jazz is like the right word, jazz or swing, and it's got that really good like toe tapping groove, and you could snap along to it if you wanted to, and I really enjoyed that. I think it's, especially for a putrid water stage, you could it helps bring it up a little bit.
Without going too far into detail, there was a Sonic Paradox project where I suggested using a like upbeat swing jazz version of 8-bit Labyrinth as like the backing track for a comedy montage. And I still think it would work in that context.
Yeah, I can see that.
Does sound like... I'm sorry, I've been watching quite a few Hanna-Barbera cartoons lately, and I could see it in the background of like, I don't know, The Wacky Races or Dastardly and Muttley.
Oh, I just had a very similar thought that it'd be a good, background for a character. I don't know why. First thing that came to mind was like, it's the Comedy Chimp After Dark. It's something like that.
It's really hard. There's not much else to really say about Sonic 1 8-bit because it's a good one. Great levels. Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, it is difficult to get used to. And to be fair, like, no other games at the time were doing what Sonic 1 on the Mega Drive were doing. Like, adapting that down to a simpler system is quite difficult, I imagine. Not that I know anything about game dev.
That is the big thing about Sonic 1 8-bit, is it's a much more of a simple run and jump kind of platformer. There are little moments where you're invited to roll down hills and fly off the end of them, but they're practically like scripted in terms of, you know, like they're literally just there and you do it and then you're back to running on flat platforms again. And it is a very good one of those, a run and jump platformer, but yeah, they clearly like were held back slightly, or they didn't super understand what was special about Sonic 1 on the Mega Drive with the pinball physics and all of that. I guess they did to an extent, because obviously we've got the special stage, but yeah, it's probably a mixture of technical limitations and also just being the first attempt at making another Sonic game when we only had one to work with so far.
Very true. I will say, not nearly as bad as Rainy Savannah and Sonic Drift 2, but the flashing in Skybase when they use the lightning can be a little much.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you know what? It's one thing worth pointing out is, like, while it mostly tries to emulate that style of Sonic, even if it's still like a very simplified, bare bones version of it, you do get like Bridge Zone Act 2 and Jungle Zone Act 2, which are like, one's an auto-scrolling stage and one's like a vertically scrolling stage that the floor becomes lava, basically, because you would die if you touch the ground below as you progress upwards. So there's lots of old-fashioned gaming ideas worked in there that I'm not so crazy about these days, even if I do love those levels.
If I can pay Sega themselves a compliment on the Origins version, which I did play, the emulation is actually, from my layperson's experience, quite good, because I remember playing the Master System version on an emulator probably right before we started this, did episode 3 and before we started this show. And I remember just due a quirk in the emulation, you couldn't properly see the cutoff for the Jungle Act 2. And so you would be like, oh, I can just land back down there. No, that's technically out of bounds. And did not have that issue in this version. So just saying.
I can say that's not an emulation thing. That was true in the original game as well. The death plane is just slightly above the bottom of the screen. So sometimes you can have a platform at the very bottom of the screen that is still visible. Jump down onto it and it'll kill you.
Well, maybe a difference between the Game Gear and the Master System version. That I also agree. The Master System versions of both of these games are definitely superior to Game Gear, but maybe just that one thing got fixed in the port.
Sonic 1 has a surprising amount of like quality of life changes that actually take the small screen into consideration. Like they added like arrows and like warning signs and stuff to jumps, and all this sort of thing, and even like changed the level design in a few places to either make it simpler or in some cases just more interesting. Like I do feel like a perfect version of Sonic 1 8-bit doesn't quite exist. Like I could imagine like a port combining everything together in a really nice way, which is kind of what the SMS remake by Creative Araya does to an extent.
Yeah.
I've definitely got some issues with that port, but as a fan port, it's a solid little project. The physics are pretty good, like fairly close to the original. It's not a terrible way to play the game at all. Like most of it is pretty similar to the original.
I mean, I will say that if somebody has not played these games, I would probably recommend them the remake of 1 over the Master System or Game Gear versions, just because those quality of life changes, and is particularly just being zoomed out and having more room to see what's coming and where you're going, just makes such a significant difference that I don't know that I would be willing to say, hey, you should play the original over this version just for the sake of authenticity.
The remake it has a couple of spots where they did add in new sections to the levels. Most of them are pretty inoffensive and they work pretty well. Weirdly, Scrap Brain Act 3 has changed quite a bit to remove like the opening section, and also adds a couple of dead ends to the maze where you just can't escape from them and have to wait for the timer to run out, which is an interesting choice, but whatever, it's a fan game, you can do what you like, like but apart from that, most of it is pretty. I'd agree that to be honest, I would say as a fan of this game, of the original, I would say you're gonna probably have a pretty decent experience no matter which of the 3 you play. All of them have their ups and downs. Like I'd say not to worry about it too much if you want to give this game a try. Just play whatever's available to you.
I will also say having 99 rings loop back to 0 and that being reflected in the score is also dumb.
Yes, that was that was a problem with pretty much all of the games until Triple Trouble, maybe even including Triple Trouble.
No, Triple Trouble 2.
I didn't realize it happened in... Well, I know it happens in Sonic 1, but then I think you get credit for how many lives you have at the end of the game, too.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
It does, but also, since it's treating 100 as 0, that means if you get 100 rings and don't get another one, you just die in one hit.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Uh-huh.
I always assumed that was like a technical limitation thing where they could only have, like, this thing's got 2 digits, that's what it does. But
I guess it would have to be, but I would think that there'd have to be some way. I don't know. Like, I'm not a game programmer, especially not one from the early 90s, but that just does kind of sour the whole experience.
I mean, there's been a whole, like, issue with, like, the number 0 when it comes to, like, calculation and computers and video games. I mean, that's the whole reason we have, like, kill screens on Donkey Kong and stuff like that. And
true.
The reason why we all freaked out before the year 2000, because everyone was like, all the machines are going to crash and die.
I watched the Stop Skeletons Faceball 2000 video. I know these things.
My brain is Swiss cheese, so I don't remember our original episode. I remember thinking the first fan remake, just to echo y'all's sentiments, probably is, if you've never played the original Sonic 1 8-bit, and you want to probably give yourself the most user-friendly experience, I think it's fine. I still think those fan remakes and even their original stuff is pretty fantastic. You just got to know, now I am definitely more comfortable saying, like, especially the second one, like, it's their fan game. They can do whatever they want. That is just a different game. Like, if you play the Sonic 2 fan remake expecting to get the gist of Sonic 2 8-bit, it's nothing like it. Which again, not a moral judgment. That's just how they decided to go with it. But no, all my love to those to those developers. They did a great job.
I mean, if nothing else, I'm just glad to see some sort of representation of the Master System versions, because by golly, they are not easy to come by, the Master System versions of these games, because Sega never re-releases them. The only Master System games I played on modern consoles have been on the Yakuza series, where they shove a bunch of those on there, and it's never Sonic, so...
And something that I'm sure we won't spend a ton of time on it, because again, it's a totally separate game by the time you're done. But something that wasn't around when we did our original episode was the Triple Trouble 16-bit remake, which is also fantastic. Again, you're not going to get that Game Gear feel of the original, but still a damn good game.
I've not played it yet, but what I've seen of it, it definitely goes in with the intention of, no, this is a reimagining, because they're literally moving it to a different console.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, it seems valid to me.
It feels like a genuine attempt at turning Triple Trouble into Sonic and Knuckles 2, which is, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's been updated, I think, since, I think me and Luke maybe got through most of it. Did you play the 16-bit remake, Jake?
I have not played it yet, but I would like to, because I enjoy these remakes.
I did play it through back when it came out. I played through about half of it before this episode as well, because I figured it would come up in conversation. Yeah, just absolutely stellar. Like, it really does feel like a follow-up to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, while also honouring the 8-bit games in a really great way.
Yeah, like, I'm aware that all of these are very different experiences from the originals, but I think, 3 out of 3, the Master System remakes and Triple Trouble 16-bit, I would still recommend to a new player over the originals if they want to just play for the first time. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's important that the original should always be available. That's something I talked about last time we talked about this, but I think that the newer versions that have that benefit of hindsight, allowing them to, create a better gameplay experience that's more accessible for newcomers, is important. And, we should not be gatekeeping just because it's not how it was originally formatted. I kind of see it as like PS2 Yakuza versus Kiwami. I know that there are
that's
purists
controversial.
No, I'm serious. Like, I know that there are purists who will insist that the newer versions are a very different thing, that make a lot of changes, sometime in a way that they very much disagree with. And I absolutely respect that. But as someone who didn't grow up with those games and is, considering other people who did not grow up with these games, I had a lot of trouble when I played them for the first time as a teenager. I had a lot of trouble now when I played them on real hardware without the ability to, save and reload as necessary. But, the fact is, I was actually able to finally beat these games in some capacity because of the quality of life improvements in the remakes and reimaginings. So I can't in good conscience recommend that people stick to the originals when you can't put the genie back in the bottle, as it were. And I don't think it's fair to be precious about that original experience when those options are there. So, play how you want to play and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Basically, Luke is out here being a proponent for the special edition versions of the Star Wars trilogy as well.
I'm hanging up this call.
Let's not say things we can't take back, gentlemen.
I'd liken the remakes to. I haven't played those Yakuza games, and I also haven't really played these games other than the demo. I feel like they're kind of like Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy VII Remake. necessarily. Like, these are
that's also a good comparison.
These are two different games at the end of the day. I feel like people should try both, ideally, and stick with whichever one speaks to you more, I guess, because I do think there's definitely some drawbacks, and there's some interesting things that the original games do that the remakes don't adapt. So
yeah, and it's interesting that the remakes are considerably less homophobic than the. Oh wait, no, sorry, we're still talking.
I was going to make the joke, but you beat me to it. Yeah, remember the original version where Sonic said a slur, and you're like, "Oh God, I know it's a different time, but that really wasn't even okay back then." But
I know. I'm glad they were able to take the forced feminization of Tails and turn it into more of a commentary on gender in general.
At least Bill Farmer still plays Knuckles.
Sorry. I think in the perfect world, they would just do they've already got that, which they've added a couple of new games, the Sega Genesis on the Nintendo Switch Online. They would just throw the Master System up there and put all of these up on there, and you would have save states and rewind. And I think that is probably the best way to approach these original versions.
I will say the only thing that does break my heart about those remakes existing and not quite being what I'm looking for is the fact that these 8-bit games, even emulated, have horrible slowdown at times when there's more than like 5 things on the screen. True. God, what I'd give for just a version of these games, unmodified, but without the slowdown, and I don't know, widescreen or whatever. But yeah.
Well, honestly, I think that all of those remakes really need to do is just add a quote-unquote classic mode that is just the original zones, one character, and that would...
Yeah, that'd be
I think that would be a big, probably a good kind of meeting of the two worlds where you have the quality of life improvements, but without all of the extra additions.
Well, personally, I just agree with Jeremy on the fact that we should have Master System games on Switch Online, because that would allow a mutual friend of me and JezMM to finally draw a character of his naked. Anyway,
remember when they had those on Wii Virtual Console?
Yeah.
Yes.
But that character didn't exist back then, so the option was not on the table.
This is a weird bet/in joke that Faulerro is referring to, but it is very important to both of us.
It is like one of those things online where people are like, haha, here's a strip game for this character. If it gets a certain amount of retweets, this character will take off an item of clothing. And in the case of this character, it's like, one retweet, one like, and also the Master System games added to Nintendo Switch Online. Thank you very much.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
I'm just super interested. I mean, I credit this show, and this show plus getting into Sonic the Comic and Sonic the Comic the podcast has just made me super curious about this whole console that I barely even knew existed until I was almost, a late stage teenager. And so, yeah, I want to play the Sonic games and the other ones on there. I think, God, isn't like the first Phantasy Star? There's just a bunch of games on there, like Sega before the quote unquote Genesis and Mega Drive. So yeah, throw them up there. Come on. There's got to be a decent emulator for the Master System laying around Sega somewhere.
I mean, there clearly is, because they keep using it in those Yakuza games.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, yes, at this point, I would settle for some of these games being added to whichever Yakuza comes next, whatever Like a Dragon title comes next.
I mean, I don't play those games, but I would if I had an accessible version of Sonic 1 or 2 to play on my Switch,
I know, right?
Oh, you got to play them. They're a good series.
I really do.
Talking about them on this podcast.
Your influence has reached far and wide. I really should, but
I know. I still have not even played half the series, and I'm still a constant evangelist for the Like a Dragon Yakuza games. Like, no, you don't understand. They're very good, actually. And also, like, God, it's so cool that, like, one of the reasons I had such a good time with Zero and the Kiwami remakes, again, they're very different, I know, from the originals, but I mean, Like a Dragon might be the niche I'm glad still exists and seems to be doing well. Like, I don't know how Sega considers them, whether they consider them like flagship, we are putting AAA money into these, but I mean, they feel like a game you would rent from your local store and have your life changed forever. Like, no, I need to rent this again. And then they're making another one. I can't believe like that kind of like, I don't even want to say like a B grade game, but like, you know, a game that probably didn't cost $250 million to make, but is so fun and has so many, the structure of the Like a Dragon games are so good that like everyone talks about how repetitive the combat is, but like it doesn't matter because then you get to, you know, you might do 4 encounters, but it's in service of the most charming, insane, or perverted side quest you've ever done, and so you don't mind. Sorry, not to go off on a rant or you know, a sermon there, but I'm just talking about some good games, man.
And they keep reusing the same assets over and over, and it's fine, actually.
Yeah, who cares? More games should do that.
Yeah. I mean, whenever Sonic does, Sonic fans throw their arms up and like, can't believe it.
And to go back to the original discussion, I think that those games have also been like one of the best ways that Sega has been familiarizing, you know, audiences with their older catalog. You know, I can't think how many, you know, arcade games like Spike Out and, you know, Virtua Fighter 5 and stuff that was not available for a long time finally coming back, or, you know, Virtua Fighter 3 TB, the very specific, you know, port for the Dreamcast, or Fighting Vipers 2, you know, all these games that just haven't been re-released in any other capacity, still coming back through Yakuza. And that includes all of these different Master System games, which I really appreciate as somebody who did not grow up with those, having that level of access to them. And I hope that they continue to expand that in future games, hopefully with those Sonic ports.
I just think there should be a Yakuza game where Kiryu meets Sonic, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we know Ichiban Kasuga's going to be in the flipping Crossworld game, so whatever. Anything's on the table now.
Yeah, it's hard to, again, sorry, derailed us. It's hard to explain. I mean, the Yakuza 0 especially was like, also, it flipped something in my head of just how... I'm not really going to the mat saying that they're like masterfully original stories, like the very concepts, but it's the kind of story that does so well in a game format because the more time you spend with the characters, the more all of them get fleshed out to where, I mean, I know it's become kind of a meme, but I mean, people treat Kiryu like he's a real person because like we've lived like half of his life. And so by the time, you know, you get to the new ones and the spin-offs, you're kind of like, man, I gotta see what my friends are up to. These real people that live in this video game. Oh, he's naked in Hawaii now. Let's find out why that happened.
By the way, on the subject of Yakuza, I was re-listening to episode 3 of the podcast, and that is literally where Luke, live on the podcast, bought RockTheJake a copy of Yakuza 0, and he still hasn't played it, so we need to get him on that so he can chime in on this conversation.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You
donate
have a life.
now with the
Am I going to have to buy Jez a
exist.
copy during this episode?
Please don't. I already have like 20 unplayed Steam games I can't take in.
Well, about to make it 21.
Say only 20.
So yeah, Sega games good, Master System games good, Like a Dragon Yakuza games good.
So that's Sonic 1 on the Master System.
Yeah, good talk.
I love it. And Sonic sings a song at the end. Well, he doesn't really, but he's, like I said in the first time we talked about this, the only remnant of Sonic having a band is him singing, I guess, like vocalizing at
I
the
think
microphone.
he's doing slam poetry that we can't hear over the credits.
Yeah.
That's where all these slurs are that they had to cut out.
Maybe he's reading the credits. He's saying like special thanks to Zippo, all the fake names.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm skipping ahead in the long play we've got for reference here. I'm going to say Lunarian SG. Do I know this game well enough that I'm going to remember a weird name like that? I'm pretty sure they say special thanks to, Yoshio Y, whoever that is. And Lunarian SG, yeah, whoever they are.
I mean, this was the time when everyone in game dev in Japan had a pseudonym, and it's always great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they didn't want to get poached.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I can't remember the God, God, I think it was from one of the other games, because Bulmer posted it on Blue Sky. It was like, when you love Carol's ideas, and it was special thanks. Yas, Carol.
Anyway, should we go to 1992 and talk about Sonic 2, even though we've already talked about it a little bit?
I mean, we have
Yes.
talked about it a little bit. I will just say this game is too hard for me.
It is very hard, actually.
I will say, I've already said, the fan remake is a totally different game. The one thing, and it might be limitations, like I said, I don't know how crunched the people that made these 8-bit games were. The one thing that stands out being really weird to me is that because this is Sonic 2, Tails is all over it. He's on the title screen. He's in the intro, getting kidnapped. But then he's in all of the title cards for the zones, and then you spend the whole game rescuing him, and that's it. You get one last glimpse of him mugging at the camera, and you don't unlock him to play. It's, again, I understand, like, there probably was some dissonance where they're like, well, this is the 8-bit version of Sonic 2, but also we are going to kind of do our own game here. So yeah, Tails is here, but no, you do not get to play as Tails even in a 2-player mode that doesn't
Well, this
exist.
came out right before Sonic 2 on the Mega Drive, so
Yeah.
maybe they wanted to save his actual playable debut for the game that they want you to actually buy.
Oh, that makes sense.
And also, time, I suppose.
Yeah. See, I want to say on the cutting room floor, they have there are more sprites for Tails in the game than what we see, but not enough to be a whole playable character though. So it was clearly scrapped early on. I will say, as a kid, where this was, I knew that Sonic and Tails were meant to adventure together. Even before I got the game, like I was vaguely familiar with Sonic. I'm pretty sure. As a kid, I kind of interpreted all those title cards as like, this is how it was meant to be. But it's not like, this is like the good future that Sonic didn't get because he hasn't saved Tails yet. It's like giving me this preview of what life will be like for these beloved characters if I can just get to the end. Not that I could, because I never got the emeralds. So yeah, like it's a weird thing to describe. It's one of those like weird thoughts you have as a kid, but you never articulate. And now that I, as an adult, am trying to articulate, it sounds really stupid. But yeah, that's kind of how I always interpreted those.
Well, that's what happens if you save Tails from his untimely fate at the end of the bad ending, where he dies canonically for real, as we all know.
This is the thing. This is the thing as well, though. I never interpreted that as it being his death when I was little either. Like I always interpreted it as just being like, man, I screwed up, buddy. I'm really sorry. Like, just
looking up and reminded of his friend that you failed to save doesn't necessarily mean that he stopped. Tails died in captivity. They forgot to put holes in his container.
Now I'm confused because I did beat this with all the emeralds. Again, using save states and cursing loudly and frequently when I got to all of those pipe mazes because that just sucks.
Yeah, the mazes are bad.
I did it, got the good ending. Sonic and Tails now run into the sunset and you see both of them up in the sky, and you're like, oh, that's nice, I guess, but they're not dead. This is okay. Yeah. This isn't them dead. This is celebrating the end of the game.
Yeah, I assume it's meant to be they're just thinking, like, it's Sonic being wistful about his friend who he hasn't managed to save, and the good ending is them being wistful about how cool they are, I guess.
That's the correct interpretation. But what we're actually seeing is the characters running along as the day turns to night. It passes to sunset and to night, and it's meant to be like a great metaphor for the characters passing on to the next plane of existence. And then we see them rightfully past to Valhalla, I think it was, that Jeremy put
God has reshaped the stars in the sky as a reminder of Sonic's failure.
To be fair, it does do the game over screen afterwards. So.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. Is then if you wait till the end of the credits, which I I don't think I ever have. Then you get a game over screen no matter what you do. So I'm like, oh, okay, so they're both dead now. Okay. This is an alternate telling of Sonic 2 where no matter what happens, they both die. So
I mean, games did that a lot back in the day. You beat the game.
They either
and
freeze and you have to hit the reset button.
All success is temporary, you know. It's eventually it leads back to entropy. So
maybe it's like a Zelda timeline thing where this 8-bit Sonic 2 comes after 16-bit Sonic 2, where Sonic dies aboard the Death Egg and Tails crashes in the tornado instead of making it out of a Sky Chase, and then they experience this game where they reunite in the afterlife.
Oh no, are we making like a Zelda timeline here where we've got like the doomed timeline at the end of Sonic if you failed during Sonic 2?
Sonic 2 doomed timeline.
I mean, in the Master System version, you get that pretty melancholy credits music, which, by the way, absolutely shaped my expectation of credits music in all video games for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's there. No matter if you've got the good ending or the bad ending in the Master System version, even in the Game Gear version, it's got like a much more cheerful one. That hey, you did well.
I will say, I do like that tune quite a lot, but the original tune, what I think of as just the ending theme, not the bad ending theme, I do think is like one of the best Sonic compositions ever. I absolutely adore it. I think it might be like literally what introduced me to the idea of, oh, I really like sad music, like, and that's been a lifelong thing. But it's also kind of got a bop to it because this is the Sonic CD composers on this one, so
yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really feel that in obvious places, but also less obvious places.
One in particular.
One thing I think we breezed over for both of these games is they were made by, at least largely handled by, different studios. And I pointed out, like in the original episode, that they've got to be studios beginning with A and ending with T, because the first one was Ancient and this is Aspect. And I guess that finally carried on the true like continuation. The spiritual successor was Sonic Superstars, because that was handled by Arzest. So but Aspect handles all the future 8-bit games, as far as I know. That Ancient was just there as a Yuzo Koshiro vehicle, I think.
Yeah, Aspect did all of the the future platform game ones. You know, there were other teams that did like, you know, Drift or Mean Bean or whatever. But
yeah, Aspect really ratioed Ancient when it came to. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
I think just comparing 1 and 2, I think I like Sonic 2 8-bit a little bit better. Maybe because as much as I'm impressed by how Sonic 1 like manages to emulate a lot of the 16-bit version, I like that Sonic 2 is mostly its own thing. I think it is funny. There is no spin dash, you know, the other big thing aside from Tails that got added to Sonic 2, which is fine. I think it because it incorporates more gimmicks to the stages, it makes up for the fact that there unlike Sonic 1, there aren't a ton of like big speed areas. Like we mentioned, the launching ramps in Sonic 1 just doesn't hold a candle to like the momentum based pinball physics of the 16-bit version. But I really do like Sonic 2. See, again, I'm being wishy-washy into where I can't say that I think the emeralds being scattered in the levels is a great thing. I do like it's how it's done differently in Sonic 2, and that it's always on Act 2, and that it's more on an alternate path than some of the tricky areas that are in Sonic 1.
They're more intuitive in Sonic 1, and in Sonic 2 they're more fucked up. Well, you know, there's different design approaches.
The one that gave me the most trouble is the one in the hang gliding zone, to where it's just at the top of the screen, and it's like, okay, guess which one of these launching clouds is going to get you there.
Yeah. That one and Gimmick Mountain were the ones that prevented me from ever getting the good ending as a child.
Oh, yeah. Gimmick Mountain is not my favorite stage.
Also, the fact that I didn't have the manual as a kid, so I didn't have the information that there was no hidden emerald on Scrambled Egg Zone, that you just had to get the other 5. So I scoured that place top to bottom.
That's so mean.
Yeah. Sky High, I'm sure we managed to cheese our way up to it a couple of times with the hang glider, but could never consistently enough to figure out how to. Now, obviously, I know you just have to bounce on a particular cloud. but and then just hold right. But I will say though about what you were saying with the physics, this game does actually have like an interesting thing which wasn't in Sonic 1, even though at a glance they seem to play the same, which is if you run forward, roll into a ball and jump, Sonic will do this really long jump, which really helps you like absolutely blast through the levels at really high speed. It's a it's a way more interesting speed running game than the first game was. And also, if you hit a spring while in that state of doing that sort of rolling long jump, the springs will send you much further, which is in a couple of places, I think, essential to finish the game. Not that the game, obviously, these were, whether the manual mentions it, I don't know, but you got to figure that out to finish the game. It's one of those. So yeah, I think that's another reason why this game is gravely misunderstood, and for good reason. It isn't like, it's not clear with its intentions or expectations of the player a lot of the time.
That's why I'm glad we've got someone on here at last who's played this a perverse amount of times who will know this kind of stuff.
Yeah, perverse is the correct word. Literally, I play this game about like once a month. I get a little craving. Nowadays, I can complete it in about 20 minutes, so it'll be like, oh, I've got nothing to do for 20 minutes. I'm going to play Sonic 2 again. I've been I have watched like a speed run. I'm not quite as good as whoever owns the world record speed run on YouTube. They do some daring stuff and some glitchy stuff, which I'm too afraid to, because you have to do it, and if you fail, you die, kind of thing, which I just can't be bothered with. But I'm always like just trying to get my score like ridiculously high using the time bonus from finishing a level in 20 seconds or less. Well, 20 in-game seconds. They're kind of longer than real seconds, but yeah. That is one thing that I do miss when I play Sonic 1. I do that's another like wish list thing in my ideal version of Sonic 1. It would be cool to like backport the physics play that Sonic 2 does have. It's not Mega Drive physics play, but it's something, and it does make the game a bit speedier than Sonic 1 was.
Yeah, now that you've said that, and I am also watching those videos Luke sent us at the beginning, you can tell there is a bit of a difference, and that is neat. And now I'm remembering, like, especially those last like 2 zones in Sonic 2. I'm like, oh yeah, I was kind of using their more momentum, and especially to get to like, gosh, the maze of the I don't know, what do you call them? The tubes at the end of those last couple of levels before you fight Silver Sonic. Yeah, my only problem with those is they're just too fast and complicated. I like the idea of going through a maze of tubes and you have to figure out the pattern, but the fact that they dump you into spikes on, I think, 2 out of 3 of the puzzles is just not fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are literally just muscle memory for me now. Like, I just know which way to hold the controller, but I would have spent hours and hours on those stages originally as a kid, I'm sure. Just very slowly working my way through them.
It's one of those things where you've got to learn to cope with the whole meanness of it all to become good at it. It cannot be expected of normal people to be able to pick this up and get it and understand it right away. That no, you just need to play it a million times, and then it's fine. And it's like riding a bike.
And obviously, if you're on Game Gear, you've got the first boss to get past before you get to any of this. So that wasn't a problem for me as a kid on the Master System, where all of those rocks fall down at the exact same height and you just jump over them. But yeah, on Game Gear, for some reason, screen crunch wasn't enough. They also had to make the bosses harder as well, which I don't really understand.
I can't defend games where you're expected to be really good at them and just be able to handle all these hard parts because you've played them over the course of years 100 gazillion times, because it's just not natural. So look forward to our Sonic Riders discussion coming up soon.
I was about to say, now we talk about how much we love the adventure games. However, we've also, speaking of things we've played a perverse amount of times.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to cast their mind back to that first Bio-Lizard fight and that first time through Crazy Gadget a few,
Why do you think we always recommend turning on mods?
Yep. That, I mean, and not to, I feel like I say this, and now when we look at any older Sonic game or older game in general, where we're like, hey, like you were saying, CyberLink, you can play how you want. as long as you're just, honest with yourself about that. But yeah, give yourself the best situation possible for these games. Like we said, if you can find an emulator that's got built-in rewind and save states, I think that would probably be the absolute best for these. And, those fan remakes do exist, even if it's like we just want people to know very clear that they are very different on purpose.
Yeah, Sonic 2 is a very different... Like, I will say, Sonic 2, the fan remake, does seem to use the same game engine as Sonic 1, so it lacks all of that rolling jump stuff that I was talking about. Since it's on my screen right now from having the playthrough on in the background, skimming across the water, that's a thing only these 8-bit games did.
That's so cool. I love that.
That is very cool.
That started in Sonic 2 and carried on to the other two games.
Yeah.
I noticed. So I was like, really fun. I love that.
So yeah, like that is something that's not in the remake, but also more importantly, it's not in any of the 16-bit games or any of the modern games. Why? It's so much cooler than running across water. Like, it's such a good use of Sonic's ball form. Now, granted, the games here don't really do anything particularly interesting with them. You just do it to get across a body of water, but still, it's a really cool visual.
I like this there.
They at least make a good effort of in one of the acts of the I'm sorry, I don't know all the zone names off the top of my head, of like rewarding you, like, hey, you managed to skip over all of the water places, here's a 1-up or 2, and then you can just drop down into the water and there's the end of the stage. It's super cool. I kind of discovered it on accident, and I was like, oh, he's skipping across like a stone, and that's another thing where I'm like, okay, well, maybe they weren't able to, they couldn't get the physics just like the 16-bit games, and so that was their, like, I don't know, I just imagine someone being so excited, like, I got it to work, Sonic can skip over the water. It's not like the other one where we're co-developing with, but we got it to work. I'm so excited.
By the way, we were briefly talking about the bosses, and this just reminds me something I forgot to mention about this and Sonic 1 is this follows the 3-act structure of the first Sonic game on Mega Drive, but it's 2 regular acts and 1 boss act. And the thing about these ones is Act 3, the boss act, has no rings whatsoever, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more of a challenge. You're going in there like Death Egg Zone every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready to die.
That's something that absolutely would not be in a good remake of these games. That's just no
they're
reason
all
for that.
Sonic Superstars bosses.
Yeah.
They kind of, especially in Sonic 2, where like they started, like it stops being like Eggman every battle. It's now Master Robots, as they're called, apparently. Nice.
Capcom gonna sue.
Yeah, I'm gonna say choose a good choice of order there, where you're facing like animal robots, which sets the stage for stuff later on in Sonic's history. And
honestly, I like that all of the robots are animal themed. I think
cool.
that's like a clever, kind of extension of the Badnik theming.
Yeah, it means it kind of frees them up to do whatever they like with the design as well. Like, you don't have to be forced to have Eggman be piloting whatever your gameplay idea you come up with.
I know. I love the much maligned for good reasons, the Antlion boss. But my favorite is the robotic sea lion with a Robotnik mustache. That one's so funny.
Bust his balls. Sorry.
Yeah, and a funny gimmick to where the only way to damage him is you hit his inflating balloon right before he lets go of it, and it blows up in his face.
And he's just like,
so good. He's so mad.
That boss name is a Balance Master, apparently. I learned that. Well, I mean, that's what it's called in the English version. A lot of these have Japanese names as well, but
these are the names according to the encyclopedia.
That's what I'm going from here. I do like the Antlion boss, Pitmaster, which is the Antlion boss. That one's interesting. Yeah, very good. That one's interesting because, like, quite memorably, during that act in Underground Zone, that's under Space Ground Zone, you're flying towards the lava, because I forgot to mention the first level is a lava level with minecarts in it, because they don't give a fuck. You're descending, you're about to die, and then Robotnik flies in with the Eggomatic to be like, oh, whoa, careful there, Sonic. Here, let me drop you into this boss. It's so strange.
It's like, you can't die here. I want you to die this way.
Yeah.
I mean, that is very in character for Eggman.
No, it is. What's
That's what's great
especially
about it.
interesting, though, is though like how you to beat the boss, you just let the boss destroy itself. And then Robotnik, for some reason, slides down into it like, oh, shit.
Look over there.
This is taking too long.
Yeah, we've got to point out the Game Gear version of that boss is objectively harder because you have less screen real estate. I did stumble into like the perfect place to stand where I think I walked maybe 5 steps total and managed to beat the Game Gear version. So just for perspective players, don't let that scare you. Like, yes, that dominates the discussion sometimes on how different the two versions are. And the Game Gear version is the most accessible. It's on Origins, it's in DX. But it's not that bad, that first boss.
Important question, which boss theme do you prefer?
Oh, that's right. 2 different ones, depending on whether you got the Master System or Game Gear one.
They're both really good as the thing. Obviously, I prefer the Master System one because it's the one I grew up with, but they're both really good as the thing. In fact, to the degree that when I imagine my perfect remake of this game, I don't know which one I'd like assign as the main boss theme and which one I'd assign as like the final boss theme, because that's how you do it, right? If you were to make a perfect version of this game, they're both such... And it is one of those... these first 2 games also do that old game thing where all of the bosses have the same music, even the final one. But damn if these aren't both tracks which work for both contexts. Like, they're both intense enough, but not too intense to be both a regular boss theme and a final boss theme, in my opinion. So yeah, there's a lot of metallic madness in the Game Gear boss theme, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think I would go Game Gear for main and Master System for final, personally.
Yeah, that's what I lean towards, if only because the Master System version is more special to me, so it feels right to have that as the final boss.
I like the Game Gear version better, though, so I prefer to hear it more.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, not to be, not to grind discussion to a halt, but I mean, I agree. They're both really good. It's hard to pick one.
And I mean, just this soundtrack in general is, I mean, obviously it's going to be one of my favorite Sonic soundtracks. It is like the definitive Sonic soundtrack for me. This is what I expected Sonic music to sound like. When I first learned about Sonic CD growing up, I was like, oh my god, here's a whole new soundtrack of CD quality music that sounds like Sonic 2 music. That was just absolutely incredible for me, you know, complete with a vocal version of Green Hill Zone. Hills. S there.
Oh, right, that's right. We talked about that in the first
Gotta remember the S.
In episode 3, we were like, yeah, Green Hills, because they went back to Green Hill again.
Yep, it's a zone that takes place in Montana.
It almost seems like, considering Sonic 1 also had Green Hill Zone regular, it almost seems like they just wanted a second go over of that, because it's like, yeah, we didn't make this quite as cool as the 16-bit Green Hill Zone the first time, so here's a cool version with even cooler music.
What's interesting is when I loaded up the game and I left it onto the demonstration mode, it loads up Green Hill Zone first, so you think, oh, we're starting off of Green Hill Zone again, but no, you're going to Lava Zone instead.
This is what I was talking about with this like shaping my opinion of Sonic. It's so like boring to me now, the idea that so many like Sonic games start off with a Green Hill type zone, because my first one was just like, oh, okay, like considering my only other major platformer I played before this was Super Mario Bros. 2 for the NES, which is again childhood favorite, but a very gentle, not a particularly cool game. Starting out with Underground Zone with that music, like everyone talks about Green Hill Zone as having amazing music in this game, but Underground Zone is right up there with it as like a certified Sonic CD-esque banger.
I mean, you heard T-Lopes' cover, T-Lopes and Jun Senoi cover of that is pretty great.
I could have wept. That was so good, that cover. Just, and again, like, I was overjoyed to hear it in the Sonic Symphony as well. My only heartbreak is that they stop it right before it gets to what could be considered the chorus of the song. It moves on to the next one, and I'm like, oh, such a tease. But
it's kind of it's like one of the main themes of the game in a way. I noticed this because like the game over music is taking off that. The da, 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 da.
Oh yeah,
that's like
I never in my head. I always think of that as being a riff on the title screen theme, but you're right. It is more of Underground. Wow. Even I've learned something new here
like
today.
The spiritual beginning of Sonic 2, like it's the theme of it, and it's the theme of Sonic nearly falling to his death and being saved by Eggman. So, really think about that.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't thought about that for very long.
But yeah, no, I can't think of a single track in this game that I don't like. Crystal Egg is probably the only weird one, which isn't like quite as much of a banger as the others. And that's probably partially due to it not having the same level as nostalgicness to me, because I never reached that as a kid.
That's the thing. Crystal Egg is like the hidden level, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
you've got to have gotten all 5 emeralds, and then apparently worked out that you need to beat Mecha Sonic, or Silver Sonic as some people call him, but I guess he's another Mecha Sonic, to get that emerald. And that's how you unlock the last level, and it's a really weird one now. I look at
Yeah.
it.
Oh, it's so weird. I love that it's so weird.
All of the others have a good ending and a bad ending, but this is the only one that locks behind a 7th zone. It's the only one which has 7 zones, which is cool, and a shame that they didn't go back to that, but I guess they spent those resources on the special stages for those games instead. I don't know.
It seems like, to go back to talking about the locking the good ending behind the emeralds, even though they're kind of a pain to find, at least in Sonic 2 it feels like, okay, well, I get a whole bonus stage, so like that's a pretty a bonus zone. That's a pretty decent reward for all my all my frustrating work.
And I mean, again, because I didn't have the manual, the way I discovered that the Crystal Egg Zone even existed was when I went on VGmusic.com for the first time and was looking at was looking at all of the MIDIs I could download of all of my favorite games. And I remember looking at Sonic 2 for the Master System, being like, Crystal Egg? Don't they mean scrambled egg? What are they talking? And listening to this tune that was like, what is this happy, cheerful tune? And then from there, I discovered, there's like a whole extra level that I've never seen. Because obviously I knew I wasn't getting the best ending, but I thought it would just be a different ending, like Sonic 1, Like, I didn't know there was a whole extra step. That was, like, mind-blowing. And it is a weird stage, but I love it. Like, it's, again, started out with a weird stage, ends on a weird stage. What a perfect little game.
It really is strange. It's like a weirdly heavenly sort of stage where Eggman's made his sort of like paradise up in the sky.
Yeah.
And it's all twinkly and strange. I quite like it.
But we could do it
you
more.
brought up VG Music, and I'm just like thinking, I didn't realise how many MIDIs I downloaded were by a person called Omni the Echidna, who would turn out to be Dave Bulmer.
Oh my god.
VG Music is like a history of Sonic fandom, if you search around for it.
Now I'm wondering how many Sonic MIDIs I downloaded by.
Oh, well, when we ever cover Sonic Robo Blast, the history of that, that's like...
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's coming eventually. In the meantime, we got to talk about Sonic Chaos.
Let me quickly run through some really important things from Sonic 2.
Come on. This is like the last one that Jez really cares about.
To be honest, I was going to leave after this, so that's cool. No. Okay, so let's see. Sky High Zone. In the top left, there's a 1-up monitor, and if you walk Sonic into the left of it, 2 little birdies jump out of the trees, and that was my first experience of what would be considered an Easter egg in a video game. I still don't know why that's there, but yeah, if you do that, that'll happen. Cool. Aqua Lake Zone, nothing to say about that one. That one's just really cool aesthetically. Like, you've got this it's kind of a water ruins level, but you've got like these futuristic fountains encased in glass, which, man, what a cool level. Green Hills is obviously
kind of like a swimming pool, doesn't it? A little bit like one of those funny little kids swimming pools. Great setting for pin-up art, apparently.
Yeah. Then you got Green Hills, which is just that's almost like a breather level. It's kind of cool to get like a Green Hill Zone halfway through the game, which they've done a couple of times in the series since. But yeah, that third act is definitely one of the bad ones that's hard for me to defend. I know how to do it, but you're literally just flying into the blue sky and hoping that the springs appear underneath you that you need to get to the end. Like, what a crazy level design. What were they thinking? And that boss is
feels
no pushover
good when it
either,
but really bad when it doesn't.
The boss is like the first of 2 pig-themed bosses for some reason.
Yeah. The attack he does where he like crosses over from left to right directly across the screen always used to catch me out as a kid. Awful. Gimmick Mountain Zone is just another really cool offbeat interpretation of like the technological theme for the game. Like, you've got like this really twinkling sort of cavern kind of thing. It always kind of felt massive to me as a kid. Like, I got that impression from the background. And again, amazing music on that one. Scrambled Egg, that was like such a weird one because there is like a demo for that one, because this was back in the days where if you couldn't beat your game yet, you would just watch the title screen to see all the levels you can't get to yet. So Scrambled Egg Zone, again, amazing music. Most people interpret it as being inside a cave. I always thought it was an outer space zone and you're like in an asteroid belt. And I meet so few people who agree with me on that interpretation, so I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I totally see where you're coming from.
Yeah, a lot of people just say they didn't really think about it that much, but yeah.
It might be because now I have the interpretation from the Archie issues we did that combined Sonic the Fighter, Sonic Unleashed, and also why not Sonic 2 8-bit.
Yeah, what a cool, and that makes me really happy because my two main sources of Sonic media at this age were a videotape of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog with the first 3 episodes on it, and Sonic 2 for the Master System. So like it feels like a match made in heaven for my personal childhood.
Archie Sonic at its peak literally threw all those in a blender just for little Jez.
I've really enjoyed reading along with that with your episode on that one.
I do love how Scrambled Egg Zone looks.
Yeah,
it just, and I even like the way the levers are built. It's just when you get to that maze of tubes, man, it's just too.
Yeah, it's trial and error. Yeah, and Mecha Sonic's pretty cool as well. Like a weird version of it.
Yeah.
I always interpreted the sprite when I was a kid as being Sonic's normal eye but red. Like it nowadays I can see what it's actually meant to be, but when all the pixels blend together on that CRT, like I don't know, you just see something different. Yeah.
I like he's got that little extra arm.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, I'm gonna get you.
Maybe happy to see him in Sonic Mania, complete with sound effects from the 8-bit games.
Yes.
Like, yeah. My one little bit of fan
And
service.
hey, I don't know if file names count, but I mean, he is called Silver Sonic in the file names for Sonic Mania. So,
cool.
I mean, of course,
to give some credence to that once thought false name.
And finally, Crystal Egg. Again, don't have the same nostalgic attachment. Obviously, it's always there on my playthroughs nowadays, but as a kid, Scrambled Egg was just the end of the game for me. So, it's cool to get this whole extra level that I didn't get to play as a kid. It's a pretty satisfying final level. Again, the final boss has a lot of nonsense because of the one-hit kill thing.
Yes.
It's pretty fun to speedrun. If you're really good, you can get him down in like 3 cycles of his attacking and electrifying the arena and that kind of thing. But God, it's just, you need save states otherwise. Like, have at them if you're playing this in this day and age.
It's definitely doable, but without save states, and you don't know what patterns to look for, that boss would probably take several minutes, and I could see that being frustrating, but it is doable.
Yeah, even as an expert, that can happen sometimes, because if you don't hit him with the exact same timing that you're used to doing every time, his whole attack pattern will change. Like, the RNG is fixed, but it depends on your actions, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Trying to manipulate it.
It's totally appropriate that a lot of people probably saw this for the first time on the internet because he's surrounded by a series of tubes. Anyway.
Oh, God. That's a callback.
And my final little nerdy points is the little shuttles that come down that drop the animals out at the end of each boss. If you time your jump just right, you can spring over the top of them and roll over the top. That's always really fun and satisfying. Can't do that. Can't do that on the Game Gear version because you bounce straight off on the Game Gear version. But on the Master System version, you can kind of go over the top of them. That's really fun. And finally, Aqua Lake Zone. After the boss, one of those little fountains in the background is missing half of its sprite. And that bothers me forever. I wish someone would go into the game and fix that for me personally. And in the good ending, Sonic and Tails stop and look up at the sky in a spot where Sonic is standing in midair over one of those little dips in the ground, and that always bothers me incessantly. No. It's not there on the bad ending for some reason. On the bad ending, the ground's completely flat. So, read whatever lore you want to into that if you're into these
Sonic is no longer
theories.
Actually affected by the physical terrain around him.
Yeah, because he's dead.
Yeah, there it is. I knew you'd bring it around for me. Yeah, okay. Well, that's Sonic 2 solved then.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, Jez. Having you on.
So, then they made a couple of alright ones, I guess, after that, didn't they?
Well, that's interesting, because we do go to... In 1993, they were pumping these out per year. Aspect gave it another go with Sonic Chaos, or Sonic and Tails, if you want to be Japanese.
Give me chaos.
That was in my mind after that episode. Basically, what's interesting about this is it basically is Sonic 2 again. But it's like they heard everyone was like, it's too hard. And I'm like, all right, fine. Have your baby version of Sonic 2. Because that's what it kind of feels like. It's like the easy version for the whiners, which I get.
I prefer the term sensible.
I don't think I've ever gotten all the emeralds. I might have beaten Sonic Chaos back when it was on DX on the GameCube. Something just clicked with this one for me to where I really like Sonic Chaos, and because they're very similar, Triple Trouble. Like when I picked up the original Triple Trouble, I was like, oh, this feels almost just like Sonic Chaos. I think Triple Trouble does improve on a lot of things Chaos does, but I really like these two. I'm sorry. I wish I had had more time to casually replay them so I can say like, oh no, these are really you should check them out if you've never.
I think that's fair to say. Like, I think they're much more like crowd pleasers for the casuals, but no, not really. No, genuinely.
Oh, see, I wasn't even disagreeing because I'm like, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's kind of
they
like
did give you Tails, like to play as, so.
And he literally serves as an easy mode as well. Like you don't have to worry about getting the emeralds, and you'll still get the good ending.
Yeah. Can't get the emeralds though. Tails is too dim and stinky to get the Chaos emeralds.
He still gets the good ending though, so maybe he just doesn't need the emeralds because he's that good. Like, you know.
Oh, he's too cute to get a bad ending.
Yeah, Eggman just pats him on the head at the end and says, "Oh, here you go. You can have all the emeralds."
Tails has too much of a rich inner life to really feel like he needs to go above and beyond.
I know he conquered his chaos. That's why it's called Sonic Chaos.
I mean, in the West.
I know these
Tails
are
is supposed to be there, but they don't give a shit over here.
Yeah, these are both called Sonic and Tails and Sonic and Tails 2 in Japan.
Yeah, it is interesting that they decided to, because they could have called it Sonic 3 if they wanted to. It's interesting that they finally chose to really separate them out.
Could have called it Sonic and Miles if they wanted to stick to that Japanese only side of things.
I think it's because the actual Sonic 3 wouldn't be out for long enough that they're like, maybe we
true.
Don't do that
True. That came between.
Might confuse people. Yeah.
I mean, they were putting a lot of hopes in Sonic 3. And, well, we saw how things worked out with that. It had a very complicated history, so...
At least McDonald's got paid.
I know. Would have been insane if Sonic and Tails 2 / Triple Trouble just got called Sonic 4. And then, oh boy, what a different timeline that would be.
Well, I mean, let's add it to the chart of which of these games is the actual Sonic 4, as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting.
I mean, especially with the fan remake. I do think Faulerro's on the money by saying this is kind of like more Sonic 2, because all of that physics play stuff that's unique to Sonic 2, the rolling jump and that's all here. So it does play very similarly. They did redo like the sprites for this one a bit. Sonic looks a bit different. They kind of had a refresh there. But I'll tell you what playing this game makes me think of. It's kind of like a mini pocket version of Sonic CD. And the reason I say that is because getting to the special stages requires you to collect 100 rings in the levels. Mm-hmm. And doing that is very similar to the exploration game, and kind of like Sonic CD. If you just want to charge through this game, you can. You'll be done in about 2 minutes because every level is about 20 seconds long if you do that.
And you get rewarded for beating it like really fast too. Like the goal marker changes.
The RockTheJake way.
Yeah, which is kind of a nice thing. Yeah. I mean, both ways of play are kind of rewarded in that way, which is nice. But yeah, like in a way, the quote real game is exploring the levels and steadily building up those 100 rings.
God, I feel really embarrassed on like specifically remembering playing Sonic Chaos back, and I just think I guess I've never done a special stage in Sonic Chaos because I didn't know you collected 100 rings. Now I'm looking at them on this video like that's super clever. Actually, I like how it does it different. You can be forgiven for not thinking
about that they're there because obviously they didn't have them in Sonic 2, so you think maybe they just gave up on them. But no, they're there. They're just all they're all a bit different. Like you're basically just trying to get to the end as quickly as possible.
I'm sure that's in the manual as well. Something I did not read preparing for this. Being honest, audience.
Yeah, some of those special stages are a bit wonky. Like Welcome Back, Scrambled Egg, Zoom Tube mazes.
Right.
That's what the last one is. Although at least you don't die for going the wrong way, you just get lost. But again, it goes back to my thing of I do like this idea of special stages, which are like unique challenges using the normal gameplay. Like I've always felt like that would be an interesting thing to do in a Sonic game. Especially when I think of stuff like the DLC levels in Sonic Unleashed, how a lot of those were like, here is a whole level based on this one gameplay mechanic. And that's kind of what the special stages are in Sonic Chaos. I don't know. I'd like to see them do that again sometime.
Frontiers almost treats the the cyberspace levels kind of like that.
Yeah.
Although I say that out loud, and then I'm like, well, but the physics do completely change when you go
That's
into
true,
those.
yeah.
So I guess Shadow Generations is maybe a better example.
Yeah, like the missions and that.
Frontiers 2, I say it every time. I think that's why the special stages in Triple Trouble are my favorite. Because you find entrances to them that are hidden in item boxes, not to skip ahead too far, but then you get taken to like a unique level and have to complete some mild platforming challenges before you make it to the end. And whoa, there's Fang / Knack. Is he going to do something cool? No, of course not. But you end up with an emerald.
It's interesting in this one because obviously they want to encourage you to do more exploration and also speeding around. So Sonic's got his spin dash at last. There you go. Are you happy?
Yes.
But he's also got like the flipping super peel out from Sonic CD, or the strike dash as they call it in the actual manual.
It is a little different. He doesn't get the figure 8.
No, of course not. But it's still essentially the same thing. Of course, Tails can fly in this one. It's just not the same controls. You've got to hold up and jump, and it's a bit weird. But it's easier to collect rings that way when you can maneuver around the stage more.
Not that you need to, because Tails can't go to the special stages, so...
I know, he just gets an extra life, I suppose.
It kind of works nicely as like a practice mode, because again, these are games that as a kid you'd play for hours and hours and hours, over and over again. So Tails is kind of how you learn the levels, and Sonic is for when you're ready to do the real thing, if you know what I mean.
I think I remember doing that with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, just because Tails is easier to... I mean, he is easy mode in I hope people know when we say that we definitely don't mean that in a derogatory way. Like I am too old for that. You play whatever games however you want.
Let's say Tails is story mode
anyway. Oh yeah.
Yes, Tails story. Yeah, there you go.
Except you don't get the real story when you play as Tails, so never mind.
Whatever. We're trying.
Now, my first experience of this game was actually in the 1992, I want to say, Sonic Yearbook in the UK, which had like a games review section where I just had this one lone screenshot of Mecha Green Hill singular zone to work with, and a description of it, like generally, and I was like, oh my god, there's this other Master System Sonic game that I don't have and have no way of getting, so I just have to look at this one single screenshot and just imagine, and listen to the MIDIs on VG Music, obviously. Aqua Planet was my first, again, what a bop. My first experience of Sonic Chaos's soundtrack, which is actually overall really good. I don't think it is handled by the same people who did Sonic 2's, but a lot of it is very evocative of Sonic 2's. Like, Turquoise Hill Zone is a pretty Sonic 2-ish track. Mecha Green Hills is literally like an alternate version of You Can Do Anything from Sonic 2.
It's like a weird... It's kind of interesting because Mecha Hill Zone is like the Sonic CD Bad Future version of Green Hills. Yeah. But it uses like almost a minor key version of the You Can Do Anything song. Yeah. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then the final act almost like does a pseudo remix of Scrambled Egg Zone as well from Sonic 2, which is kind of cool. You don't really get to hear that much of it. It plays in the intro as well, but yeah. The only thing I will say is that ending theme is a bit of a downgrade, because, I don't know, all of the music in this game is really cool, and then it has this really quite ordinary ending theme that's just...
It's fine. It's just like do-do-do-do-do, and Sonic's jumping around, and you get the big titles. He's running around doing an emerald as all these titles come up, including Thanks to Hitmen. Which I'm sure is someone's... game dev pseudonym, but hey, yeah, you know what? Thanks to Hitmen.
I mean, thank the Hitmen as well for Sonic 2, because they get thanked in that as well. And I remember...
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I remember as a kid... Sorry, let's talk about Sonic 2 some more. I remember as a kid... I didn't actually understand that what I was looking at was credits there. I remember when we first finished the game, my brother and I were together, and we were just reading out these incomprehensible words. It's like, cast Sonic, okay? And then it's like, program Coco. And what? And obviously I understand that these are just really simple versions of credits now with like the pseudonyms of the developers, whoever Hitmen is. But yeah, that takes me back to that annual though, where it described the game as having like, if you manage to get all the Chaos Emeralds, you'll get a real gem of an ending. And I remember at the time thinking, wow, what is this amazing like cutscene that you're going to get if you finish this game? And it is literally Sonic in a gem running around like while the credits play. Like, get it? Yeah. Like, I can't, like, this is what I've been waiting to see my entire life ever since I looked at this annual.
I know we still have Triple Trouble to get to, but all of these games, it is impossible not to see the DNA that influenced Sonic Mania and Sonic Superstars. And I feel confident in saying, even though I still think the bosses really bring down Superstars, that's the rest of that game, I'm so glad takes so much just inspiration from these. Like, I really want to think that there was a concerted effort amongst Sonic team of saying like, okay, we want to do more classic classic Sonic stuff. You know, we recorded a whole episode on that. We have to start, looking at other things, like not just like, what do we got in the old folders we could regurgitate? It's like, no, I can tell a ton of thought went into like, what can we take from these games that were born out of like, not wanting to leave our 8-bit customers in the dark and like bring that forward into modern Sonic sensibilities. And I just think that's super cool. When it works, I really love it.
I mean, that's why we get the beadworm boss in Sonic Mania as well. Like, just straight up. Yeah. I was going to try and say, like, the Gigalopolis. How do you say that level name?
I'm assuming it's Gigalopolis.
Gigalopolis.
Yeah.
That's not exactly... okay.
Gigapolis?
Like, not Superopolis or Megalopolis.
Or Casinopolis.
Gigaopolis.
I don't think we can get too hung up on what a Gigalopolis is, because in like about 30 minutes time we're going to have to figure out what a Jungrilla is. So
yeah,
Gigapolis.
It's just the pronunciation anyway. But yeah, most of these levels are just like it's just Sonic 2 again. I mean, Turquoise Hill is like a Green Hill type. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that one again. Sleeping Egg Zone. Actually, you know what? That's just... I guess it's a bit like Crystal Egg Zone, but during an actual level, except for it's falling apart and it's horrible and it's a mess and you destroy it.
I'm never quite able to pinpoint what genre Sleeping Egg Zone really is. Like, you described
It's a ruin with Robotnik's put his face on it and you Donkey Kong Bonanza your way through it, apparently.
You know what it actually reminds me of nowadays? Nowadays, it reminds me of the Egg Garden Zone from that very first test demo that Taxman made. Almost, and now that we know that Taxman likes to pay homage to the 8-bit games, maybe there is some inspiration there.
I love the pattern on the tiles. It looks like public bus seat cushions, like 90s Taco Bell. I actually really like the color palette in Sleeping.
This is one where the box art is really accurate as well, because it depicts Sleeping Egg Zone, and it's got that pattern and everything. It's a really nice piece of art. And also, it's very representative of the game, because boy, does this game like springs.
Really does.
There are just springs everywhere. There's a spring power-up. You cannot go like 5 seconds without a spring appearing underneath.
There are springs in the trees.
Yeah.
There's springs on the motobugs, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do love the they use it for some cool like practically in the special stages, but I love the little rocket power up that's just, I remember when I first saw it, like, oh, what is this? That kind of looks like speed shoes, and like, oh nope, Sonic's just balancing on a missile, like he would.
I mean, his
go
shoes
on to
are
do
rockets
several more times.
Like, just in case you would need to visualize that, audience.
I choose to believe that's where that one power up in Sat AM came from.
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe, but do you really think the SATM creators were paying attention to the 8-bit games? They barely paid attention to the games themselves.
I mean, if I had seen that episode when I was a kid, I would have been geeking out. I'd be like, yeah, just like from the games.
From the games.
Also, I did look up the music credits. All the sound was done apparently by Kojiro Mikusa, who also did the soundtracks for Blast and Tales Adventures, and Masayuki Nagao, who did the arrangements for Hydro City Act 2 and Lava Reef Act 2.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
I mean,
Talk
I
about
was about
some
to say,
chops.
I recognize that name.
And also all of the Sonic Drift music.
Yes,
okay.
I can see the crossover there. Like, I don't think it's quite on par with Sonic 2's soundtrack, and obviously Sonic 1's soundtrack is just incomparable because it's just a completely different style, but yeah, a lot of really solid work on this one.
Anyway, the last level's an electric egg, because that's a visual for you. Electrify your eggs.
I guess if you're a weirdo who microwaves your eggs.
So they explode and kill you, yes.
If you're a weird echidna who does that.
I've got this really nice electric egg boiler I like to use, but that's neither here nor there.
Not the most impressive looking final boss, I have to say. When you have this big...
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Yeah, you
There's
have
a boss called Laser Walker.
Yeah.
Guess what it does?
Speaking of Sonic CD.
It is,
yeah, you're right.
It does really make me laugh, though, because this is the first game which does have a unique final boss theme, and you get there and, like, you know, the screen freezes for a second and it moves into position, this really threatening theme comes in, and then Eggman just kind of walks on like... in his little... yeah.
I'm sorry. It's fine, but I am watching this person beat it by doing something you couldn't do in the other two 8-bit games, which is just bounce on top of the boss the whole time. You don't slip through and lose your invincibility.
Look, I'm sorry, Sonic, but this is what happens when I only get to design the torso of a giant robot. You need to give me more time to handle these things.
It's a fun final boss mechanically, though. It is fun to pull off that bouncing thing, because you want to try and time it so you're always on the left of his center, because then he won't do that bouncing laser that goes around. He'll only shoot forwards, and you'll never be in any danger, but surprisingly hard to do. But, so it's kind of satisfying to pull it off.
It's always been good whenever you can just bounce on Robotnik's head and beat him. Like, that's what you aim for. That's the reward you get for getting to the bot to get into Robotnik. You should beat the shit out of him in a few seconds if you're good enough at it.
Yep. Not to constantly bring up superstars as shortcomings, but yes, Sonic bosses should. The biggest thing against some of the 8-bit ones is the fact that they're, for some reason, they'll give you rings and like, you gotta be real careful, that's more fun, right? No, it's not. Like, make cool looking and I get it. You spend this much time coming up with a cool boss, you're like, well, we want the kids to see it for more than 30 seconds. No. If I can bounce up and down and sacrifice my rings and invincibility frames to beat the boss in 10 seconds, that's my own business. I think that should be the design philosophy of most 2D Sonic bosses.
I do think if you want to do a no-hit run, you've got the power to do that of your own volition whenever you like.
And people do. I can't remember. I think it might have been someone affiliated with Games Done Quick. I think there's like a 2-hour video where somebody literally like, let's beat every Sonic boss with no hits. And I'm like, yeah, that is totally possible, but don't. It's my biggest problem with certain Sonic bosses. If
you're hitting a boss and you, after making contact, you fall through, that's not a proper Sonic boss to me.
No.
That's some like Mario shit. Get that out of here. I definitely see what you mean, Jez, to where there is something. It does not stand out in my brain as much as the first two, Sonic Chaos. I do think Chaos is an easier game to pick up and play.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of, if I do think, I don't know if I'd recommend it as like, the one to play if you want to play an 8-bit Sonic game. I'd probably still lean towards Triple Trouble for that, despite my biases. But it's just a nice little time. I think I remember in the Sonic 1 episode I described Sonic 1 as being a very gentle little Sonic platformer. This is somehow even more gentle than that, even though like it's a very unassuming and calm game. The only thing I will say which I forgot to mention earlier, is I do dislike that when you do go to the special stages after collecting 100 rings, that clears the level. You don't get to go back and finish it.
That's true, yeah.
90%, 90% of the time, that's not an issue because you've probably explored the whole space of the level to get those rings anyway. But Aqua Planet is pretty bad, or rather good, for giving you just these huge rows of ring monitors, which are not hard to get to. You never even need to touch the water in this game if you don't want to.
That's true, which is nice to have the option, but it's almost like, well, where's the aqua of this Aqua Planet?
Yeah.
I think we've said before on the podcast that a good water level in Sonic is one where you don't have to touch the water.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that's actually I'm immediately thinking of Aquatic Ruin. I think that even came up during Sonic Heroes. Yeah.
I mean, we're all Sonic in this moment. Cool. As long as I don't touch the water, it's a great level.
Yeah, Aqua Planet is one of those, Aquatic Ruin, where you've got the top route, which has no water, and the bottom route, which is all water. And you can, stick to one or the other. It's just a shame that it's so easy to hit the special stage on those zones if you haven't got all the emeralds yet. Because, then you don't get to choose. You just finish the level in 10 seconds. So. Yeah. Worth mentioning as well, this is another one like Sonic 2 where the music is slightly different between the Game Gear and the Master System versions.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Gigalopolis has 2 completely different songs, depending on which version you're playing. Aqua Planet has the same backing song, but the main melody is different between the 2 versions, which is interesting. It's almost like one's an Act 2 remix of the other, if you know what I mean. Which is interesting, why they even did that. It does sadden me that there's so little documentation on the development of these games. There's so many weird little mysteries, like those birds in Sky High Zone, that I just really want to grab one of the programmers and say, why did you do this? I just want to know. And again, with the music choices as well. But yeah, other than that, on the Game Gear version, the 2 different versions of the special stage each have a unique song, whether it's the Grassy Hills one or the Labyrinth, whatever you want to call that genre of level. Each one has a unique song on Game Gear, whereas on Master System they both just use the same, whatever the first one is.
Another note, by the way, I forgot to mention this when we started up, it has the same title screen music as Sonic 2, which makes it more feel like a Sonic 2 again.
I'd be remiss to mention as well, while it isn't complete like the other ones, there is a fan remake project for this as well, which is absolutely outstanding. It only exists as a demo.
I think I played the demo.
Oh, you're right. I remember that now. It was by...
I want to say it's Mr. Potato Badger, or am I thinking a different Sonic Chaos thing?
Yes, Mr. Potato Badger, you were right, CyberLink. At least that's the uploader of the download for it on Sonic Fan Games HQ.
Well, then I certainly hope it's them. Otherwise, I'm going to be very concerned.
But yeah, no, that is excellent. As much as I do love Sonic Triple Trouble's remake, I am all about the Sonic Mania aesthetic for this one. I feel like it ties in nicely with the Sonic CD connections that Sonic 2 and Sonic Chaos in particular have out of the 8-bit games. It's just gorgeous. The rearranged soundtrack is absolutely incredible. I believe that music is by Michael Staple.
That's the one that Act 1 of Turquoise Hill Zone is actually a complete reimagining musically. It's the same melody but up tempo and sort of tropical sounding.
Yeah, they kind of give it this chilled out vibe, and then they remix the original pace of the music for Act 2. I really just can't wait. I think it is still in development. It's slow going. It's very much like a passion project on the side for the people who are making it, of whatever their normal life is.
I can wait.
But yeah,
real good.
I absolutely can't wait. Highly recommend people try it out. It literally is Sonic Mania gameplay pasted onto the Sonic Chaos framing.
And you might as well with Sonic Chaos, because Sonic Chaos is kind of a simple game. You might as well try and reinvent it a little bit. It is maybe a bit too gentle and soft and whimsical, but true. But as we all understand, that's the true way Sonic stories are supposed to be told in glorious Nippon. Sonic is supposed to be a gentle story.
We hashed that out already. Oh goodness.
That's Sonic Chaos, everyone.
It's just a real quick thing because, like I said earlier, I just barely had any time to play any of these. But with both Sonic Chaos and Triple Trouble, before I went in, because I haven't even played these before, I kind of already had an expectation in my head of how a Game Gear game, even being played through Sonic Origins Plus, would feel. And I felt like it was going to be a little bit slower, a little bit clunkier. But I was actually, and this might be specific to Origins Plus, but it actually felt gameplay wise a lot better. Like I felt like there was more speed than I anticipated. I felt like the control was tighter than I thought it would, and I was very pleasantly surprised, even getting to play just a couple levels of both Chaos and Triple Trouble. And I don't know if that's the exact same as if you played on the Master System, but I think that's worth noting, that if you think you're going to be in for a slowish, clunky-ish time, you're going to be surprised in a good way.
I feel like the Game Gear version is probably okay anyway, because while I would always go to bat for playing the Master System versions over the Game Gear versions of Sonic 1 and 2, Chaos is fine. It's not a particularly challenging game, so the screen crunch isn't going to screw you over too much.
Chaos definitely feels like the first one that was really made, like, considering the Game Gear. Like, it feels like it was made at the same time for both versions, which it clearly wasn't because they have different music, but I don't know.
But if we've all had something to say about Sonic Chaos, I suppose we'll go to 1994 and talk about Triple Trouble, because that's a really interesting one, I think. It's, like you were saying, like, Chaos was made for, like, with the Game Gear in mind, but this one was made just for the Game Gear, and you can sort of tell looking at it.
Yeah, I know there have been, like, fan attempts to build game or Master System versions of this game, but I don't know that any of them have ever actually been finished.
Oh, they have. Well, ish. For this, I played the Master System port version. It is completely playable. The screen just glitches a little bit here and there in places where it clearly isn't expecting you to be able to see beyond the screen borders. Unfortunately, the biggest casualty of that is the ending sequence where the lovely scene of Sonic and Tails flying their plane across a lovely changing sky through various times of day is just completely butchered. The colors are completely wrong on it. It looks awful, which is a shame. But the rest of the game is so look that up on YouTube afterwards. Otherwise, it is completely playable on Master System and definitely benefits from lack of screen crunch as much as any of the others do. But obviously, unlike the others, there's not going to be any other advantages because it is just a port. So yeah.
I mean, for the most part, you're just going to be sticking with the Game Gear version. So unfortunately, the whole country of Brazil has left the chat.
I do really like Triple Trouble. I remember more than any other Sonic game, this was the one I was made aware of because of other tie-in media. Right. The Archie comics. I can't remember. I feel like there was something else. Maybe there might have been some contest on one of those Nickelodeon game shows where they had a prize pack that was like, add a Game Gear with Sonic Triple Trouble. And just remember thinking, like, oh man, I hope I play that someday. And then I did, and it's actually really good. And we talked about how great the fan remake is, but this feels like its own little Sonic 3 and Knuckles for the Game Gear. Like, Knuckles is here, he's causing a ruckus, unless you're playing the Brazilian version, I believe, right, Faulerro?
I don't know if that's true or not, but the fact someone might have vandalized the fandom article, as people are wont to do. But let me just find that real quick to share with JezMM as well.
I was going to say, this is news to me, whatever this is.
This sounds like the sort of thing that we'd lie to Dave Ballmer about, to be honest with you, because it's this sort of like, in the trivia section, there's just this one entry to Sonic Triple Trouble, and it's in early editions of the Brazilian manual to Triple Trouble, and you can tell Triple Trouble is like not capitalized there. Knuckles is stated to be on vacation, and the echidna we face is stated to be his younger brother, Crucules, I guess.
Cruels.
Yes, as funny as that is. Well, it's funny no matter if there's any truth to it or not, because what a weird thing just to put on at the bottom of like a stupid wiki article.
I hope it's true, because I want to see the tweet from Ken Penders who says, yeah, you're welcome for that idea, Brazilian Triple Trouble 2. I came up with that, that's mine.
Well, maybe that would make sense, because, Knuckles is in here. He's causing problems like in Sonic 3. But, in Sonic 3, he does tend to chuckle, or I like to taking it all the way back, that he laughs like Muskie the dog. Like a Dom DeLuise. And Knuckles in this game is like open mouth guffawing, like spitting saliva all over Sonic, just like ha ha ha. He's laughing like a Chick Track character.
I remember old, like, Flash animations on Newgrounds where Knuckles would have like the Kefka laugh, and this is the one that I feel like most embodies that.
Carried on in spirit in Deltarune with all those great character laughs in that game. So yes, now the rest of the show we will be discussing the fictional backstory of Knuckles' brother, Hercules.
By the way, I'm sorry that for some reason we keep coming back to the country of Brazil with this episode, but
it's Master System home territory.
Yeah, they love that. They love it there. They still make them.
So over in Brazil, we're discussing like current Sonic games. Like this isn't even like a retro throwback episode. It's
Oh, finally, they're catching up to us.
Yeah. Though again, this one adds a cool little thing which I don't think shows up in many Sonic games, which is when. And thank God for this. When you jump off a spring, you can tap the button in midair to like recurl yourself to hit enemies. And in fact, it's so like well utilized that literally you have to do that to beat the first boss. And then they continue to like use it for various little moments later in the game. Like that's a really cool little thing that they added, which again is just another cool little 8-bit exclusive thing, like skimming on the water and all that.
Should have just maybe told you that if you need to beat the first boss with it.
Yeah.
I guess you can just sort of like intuit it yourself.
Yeah, it's probably in the manual.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like this one because, it's really ambitious. They're trying new things. It was, just for me as well, it was like, I remember in STC, they were talking about that because it had a brand new character in, Knack the Weasel, which is totally his name, and we're going to stick to that forever. Which... Great what a great addition. A character based on Opa from Fantasy Zone, apparently.
Oh, yeah. You saw that.
His head apparently is originally based on the little ship that you control in Fantasy Zone.
Oh, this does feel familiar, actually. I feel like I have seen like a...
I think the phrasing of the anecdote was that the artist admired such a recognizable... character with so few simple shapes, and so he kept that in mind when he was designing Fang/Knack. And there's like a little comparison and like, oh yeah, you break it down to just basic geometry. His head is kind of like an Opa shape.
It is an interesting idea because it's certainly the better example of having a character based on Opa that involved simple shapes, but we're not going to talk about World War Blue on this podcast right now.
I was trying not to bring it up.
There's the little image there. You can sort of see.
I love Fang, Knack, whatever his true identity may be at the end of the day. And I love this. I already talked about how I like the special stages. They're in item boxes. I guess they were like, well, we don't want to just add gold, checkpoint posts, star posts, I guess. We haven't put them in any of these 8-bit games, so you hit it and you jump into and you get transported
after you collect 50 rings, though, so it is a bit like that, the star post system.
Oh, I didn't even realize
you got to have 50 rings.
I just found the boxes.
Otherwise, if you hit it, nothing comes out, so it's like hitting a star post.
Oh,
so
wow.
You get a little twinklies come out of it, and you jump into that to get to the... And it's quite an elaborate process. You really got to seek these out. Like we mentioned it before, but like it alternates between like a little platforming section and also the little weird basically the Sonic 2 special stages, but you're in not without a half pipe and you're in the tornado trying to catch rings.
Luckily,
so.
Considering these are some Sonic Advance ass perspectives on the rings coming towards you, very forgiving ones. Right. I didn't fail either of them on my first attempt. Because I think they let you go through the pattern of rings like twice over before, and you only need 80. So, and even the bombs don't make you lose rings; they just stop you from moving for a second, so you might miss like 5.
I was going to say I wasn't sure how those worked, but it seemed pretty generous that they knew. Like, yeah, this is a little wonky, so here, don't mess up, kid.
But both of those things, you're basically unlocking the right to confront Knack the Weasel, I'll say, because the first time you're just like, haha, he's there, he's going to hit a switch and burn himself, what a twat. He's actually a really it's always really funny. Like, he's got a really expressive little character. You catch him sleeping and then he'll do something and he'll make an ass of himself, and it's always good.
Yeah.
But the other times you're fighting him in a boss battle, and it's always stupid. I love it.
Yes, it's always very easy. His marvelous queen, he just doesn't have the juice. And it's great. I love it.
Can I just say I love his theme? Like, it's very kind of spaghetti western.
Good.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this like the first example of like really doing like a comedy sequence in a Sonic game? It's not something they
Unless
really...
you include, like, Knuckles' launch base zone.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah,
that did
there's a
come
couple
first.
of Knuckles bits. But this is in the same spirit, for sure.
It is a shame that, like, they had one idea, which is Knuckles appears and he presses a switch and fire comes up. And then he does it again and fire comes up again. And then the third time, oh, we're going to twist it on you. This time snow comes down. And that's what Knuckles does in this game. Which is kind of a shame that you can meet Knack for the first time on that first zone, because I almost feel like Knack laughing at you and pressing the switch is meant to be a play on those Knuckles scenes. So having not had a Knuckles scene happen first, potentially, but yeah, you probably didn't get those special stages on your first time through the game, so it works either way.
I know. I can't remember the story given in the manuals or any of the, I'm sure, inaccurate comic adaptions I've read. Why is, I guess this is more like in parallel with Sonic 3 and Knuckles than to be like, I don't know, people have figured out if they could mesh together. Is Knuckles just being a dick for no reason?
I believe
he's got the Chaos Emeralds again.
I believe it said that Robotnik tricks him again, and they do that in Sonic Adventure. So I think this is just where we're establishing he's a dummy.
Yeah.
He's a little bit dim.
Maybe it went something like, I'm not going to trust you again, Robotnik. You lied to me. It's like, oh, but this time I have a purple Jerboa as a friend. Okay, I trust him, but not you.
We're both Australian, so it's fine.
Hey, how the hell you doing? Name's Knack, or whatever. You can call me.
Far as you know.
It don't matter. It don't matter. None of this matters.
It's on the Game Gear. Nobody's playing.
I already signed a real cushy deal with Sonic the Comic where I get to be a good guy for half a story.
But I'm a good guy for real, though. Don't worry about it.
I mean, considering that he mainly shows up in special stages in this game, makes sense that STC would have him as a special zone antagonist.
I think it might have. I think it may be in the manual. It might have suggested that that's his home or something. I'd have to double check. I really should have Sorry, I was so focused on the games, I forgot about the all important Japanese manuals that are the canon lore and everything about Sonic the Hedgehog that we need to pull from the future.
Well, I feel like it kind of comes across in the game itself that Knack is just here being an opportunist. He kind of has his own agenda. He just wants to get the emeralds himself. Because when he shows up in the final zone at the end, as soon as Eggman turns up, exploding things behind him, he's like, "Oh, peace, I'm out." Not worth it.
Knack is definitely the wait. If you take over the world, is my money still going to be worth anything? Because that is going to answer a lot of questions I have about this whole arrangement.
This money ain't worth the paper it's printed on.
Also, you can't blow up the Earth because then I won't have a place to live.
The problem is he's going to make Robotnik dollars there after he kidnaps Planet Mobius's queen.
And here's your reward, Mr. Fang. Oh boy. Wait, what the hell is this? Robotnik dollars.
1 million egg bucks.
Good at any enslaved bodega in the Eggman Empire. Ah, crap.
I can't find Wendy's translation, but Google Translate says he's a treasure hunter living in the subspace, apparently collecting Chaos Emeralds.
Oh. I mean, that kind of implies that he's from the Special Zone, right?
Yeah, if that's even half accurate, it's no wonder STC was like, people live here.
STC didn't have the Japanese manuals.
I mean, probably not. But it's interesting that they came across that. They did that, though. Isn't it funny how STC just sort of intuits these things, like Knuckles having an ancient culture? Anyway, it's just funny.
I don't know if I was aware of... I guess if STC reviewed it, maybe I was aware of Triple Trouble as a kid. But otherwise, I think STC was my only exposure to Knack. I don't really know if I knew where he came from or not. Since it's come up in the long play that I've got running in the background, I suppose we ought to talk about the Sunset Park train, because everyone really likes the Sunset Park train.
It's funny, Sunset Park starts off as like a roller coaster, baby. I want to ride. And then you go on, you get the really cool moment as you hit the signpost to be like, okay, I finished the stage. Then the signpost falls off and you realize you're on a train and the train's moving. And that's the boss now.
Train and ride it.
I think it's a moment that is a lot, actually, there's much less to it than what most people remember about it.
Yeah.
You're just kind of running along, hitting things and jumping over pits. But
it's kind of like how like the Angel Island flying battery bit where you just do nothing but run away from it is like indelibly like burned into your memory, literally, because everything's on fire. But it's not really that significant, whereas this is just like, you remember it because the music changes and it's really cool, and it changes up the formula of these little games.
That's the thing. Sort of going back to what I was saying about how like I had like these ideas in my head of how I interpreted those Sonic 2 title cards. I remember when I first played this, I guess it would have been in Sonic Adventure DX, so I'm still a kind of like half young teenager. I remember that moment. I was playing as Tails because I really liked playing as Tails back then, and like it almost seems like emotional that he just stops and just starts running into the sunset with this music. And I'm like, what is happening right now? It's making me feel things for some reason. Nothing specific or interesting, but like there's just this weird little emotional moment where this really like evocative song picks up. Though I will say, once the song actually gets going, there's not actually that much to it. It's got a really strong opening, but then the rest of it is kind of whatever.
It is that intro.
I feel like Triple Trouble's soundtrack in general isn't quite as strong as the previous three games. I feel like a lot of tracks have that problem where they have a really strong opening or a really strong underlying riff, but then the melody doesn't really do anything that memorable. For me, at least.
It depends on the song. So some of these don't stand out. Obviously, like we just mentioned, Neck the Weasels, I think is strong throughout.
Yeah, that's a great song.
A good bit of music. One of my favourites is actually, to skip to the end a little bit, is Atomic Destroyer Zone.
Atomic Destroyer is an exception for me, yeah.
Because, in a weird way, I'm like, this feels like a Toby Fox song. There's something about the weird way the notes like progress that's still like, oh, I could see it. And probably due to like the 8-bit, that particular kind of like chiptune sound font that sort of like makes me think of some of those really good like Undertale Deltarune tracks. It's just one of those funny things. It's just a really great track.
Yeah, it's a really great final stage theme as well in the context of this being like kind of the grand finale for the 8-bit games, as long as you stop playing when you should. like in that context as well, like if you have played all four of them in a row, like it's pretty decent last level with really decent music for that.
And of course we do have to shout out Robotnik Winter Zone, because we did bring it up during our Ice Zone countdown.
We've got to bring it up because it's called Robotnik Winter Zone in Japan as well for some reason.
The things Gerald did there are unspeakable.
Oh no, the nuclear winter of Gerald Robotnik.
Wait a minute, this isn't snow.
It's also the zone where we have the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, you've got to talk about it, because taken on its own, the boss is really cool looking. He's like a Metal Sonic but a penguin. But on top of that, they call him Giga Thomas.
Oh, of course, I knew, yeah.
What a name! Legendary. Also Pen, apparently, was his nickname.
His friends call him Pen.
My friends call me Pen. Yeah.
To us, he's Giga Thomas.
Giga Thomas. There's got to be some sort of explanation for that. But maybe they were just like, no, I really like the name Thomas. So let's make him Giga.
Is he maybe the founder of Gigalopolis? Do we want to start reading into the lore?
Oh, maybe. Nah. Giga.
And I like where this is going.
Yeah. And remember, this is all on South Island, so you have to tie this into your fanfiction.
Yeah, I know, it's really tiring.
How do we all feel about Sonic's weird little grin when he's idling or on the level start thing?
I think it's cute.
Yeah.
It's
so weird.
Sort of looks at you. He's like, hey. I don't know, something about Sonic, like, Sonic didn't really do a lot of grins at the time, but Sonic X, he's grinning all over. Oh, I saw Sonic Adventure as well, like, grinning all over the place. There's something about Sonic having a grin that's just like, oh, look at that little cheeky bastard.
It's a funny little sprite he's got in this one.
I do like that when you leave Tails idle, he's not only does he do his yawning thing, he just sits down. He's just like, oh, it.
Yeah, there's just a ton of personality in this game. Like, I will say, when obviously my bias is always with Sonic 1 and 2, I go back to those all the time. I don't go back to Sonic Chaos and Triple Trouble that much. Chaos, when I replayed it for this, it was, as I remembered it, just a nice little time. Triple Trouble, like, always surprises me whenever I go back to it, like how, within a hair's breadth they got of making a Mega Drive style Sonic game on the Game Gear. Like, the level design is still very 8-bit in terms of the fact that you've got, like, 2 or 3 routes through each level and they're not crazy long, but these ones are still, like, pretty meaty. Like, they're meaty enough that they brought back the checkpoint monitor from Sonic 1. And
oh, that's right, yeah, the little arrow monitor.
Like, these levels are a good, like, 2 to 3 minutes each. Like, they're proper little, it's just really, like, impressive that they went this far with this one. Like, you can tell that they were really figuring out how to make a console-like experience for a handheld game. It's a shame that the Game Gear wasn't more popular, and this isn't.
Do you feel like they were just inspired more by Sonic 3? Like, they had more Sonic to pull from, so they're like, okay, here's Knuckles, and also bigger levels, I guess.
Yeah, and just going from 2 to Chaos to Triple Trouble, it's really just evident how much that team has learned about game development over the course of 3 different games, and both also how well they've learned to utilize the Game Gear and what little power it's able to supply and make it work for them. And I just think that it's really impressive how much they were able to do by the time they got to Triple Trouble.
It's definitely, like, visually they're like, okay, we know people can only see so much, so, like, they increase the size of things. Like, it makes me think of how, like, when I played Super Mario Land 2 and the coins were, like, massive and the blocks were massive. That's what's happening here because the rings are massive.
It's another one where I wish I'd had more time to replay this one. Triple Trouble is definitely, if you were only going to start with one of these games, Triple Trouble feels the most like a, okay, weird thing to say, but I'll just say the classic Sonic you're used to. But yeah, I find it very charming in its little quirks. Like, I wanted to say I love the big animal Badnik bosses that carry over to this one from Sonic 2 from Sonic Chaos. But yes, Giga Thomas is my favorite just goofy piece of trivia from this game because Giga Thomas is just great.
I mean, to be fair, Wood Butter Rundorf is the close second.
That's a heck of a name, though.
Yes.
Where does that come from? Well, that's a Meta Jungle. By the way, Meta Jungler. Oh no, it's the Meta era.
Yeah.
Meta Jungler era zone. What happens if I search Buta Rundorf? Oh, it brings up Buta Rundorf. Never mind. Woodbun Rundorf from Sonic. Yeah, whatever. I guess it might just be a word.
Just to make sure I wasn't making an ass of myself earlier by saying jungler isn't a real word, I did just quickly Google define jungler, and I got the Sonic wiki page for meta jungler. So,
the only example.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, maybe it's just a weird transliteration thing.
Yeah, and that's what I have to assume. Yeah,
it's not a bad level, by the way. That one, I just thought it was worth pointing out that it's a bit visually. It reminds me a little bit of Wood Zone, and maybe it's like they cancelled Sonic 2 level, and maybe it's just because it's got hollowed out logs that you can run through. But I suppose it's probably more calling back to Jungle Zone from Sonic 1. I don't know. It's an alright one.
Yeah, it reminds me of Jungle Zone from Sonic 1, which is fine this late in the game to do a throwback level like that, I think. I'm not a huge fan of Tidal Plant. Like, it feels a little bit oppressive as far as water levels go, but
It's kind of like the opposite direction of Aqua Planet, because they're like, oh, so you skipped all the water this time around. Not happening this time, buddy.
Good luck with that.
But they do at least refine the water bubbles from Sonic 2, where before they were pretty tricky to use. You couldn't go anywhere near the walls.
I know, glad to see him.
Whereas here,
and you do get to drown Knuckles.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, like when you fight Knuckles, he's just piloting a mech, because sure.
He's in a submarine, and you kill him. It does the drowning animation from Sonic 3. So I'm just like, oh, you fucking died. Great. You mentioned the bubbles, and I'm thinking about, like, I did do a quick. I didn't finish it all the way through. I just mainly wanted to test it out. I did a little Tails playthrough of Sonic Triple Trouble, and I didn't realize that when Tails gets into big bubbles, he's upside down.
Oh, that's adorable.
What a little nerd.
I can't believe how many like unique sprites and like passion went into this one. It's so cool.
Also, Tails. This is the debut of the Sea Fox.
Yes,
Tails' signature submarine.
Yeah. Even before his own Game Gear games, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was right before Tails' Adventure. It debuted here, and it's just a little thing that you can pick up and don't get hit or you'll lose it. It's cool. It's sort of like the first one of those signs of, hey, this is Tails' little gadget. I wonder where he got that. Rota made it for him in the Archie comics.
And Porker in the STC comics, of course.
You have to assume so. Tails can't do shit.
No, I suppose Techno would have probably made that.
No, Techno's more likely to have actually made a machine and probably made it in 5 minutes because she's a girl boss because she can't do any wrong. And she's a female character during the STC during the 90s.
No, I'm wrong. Techno can't have built it because it doesn't have like laser cannons built into it that would eviscerate everything in sight.
I was about to say.
Also, it doesn't solve whatever specific problem of the week the story involves. You're allowed rings on the bosses, or at least the final boss in this one?
Yes.
Because I know I had to just tank hits on that final boss because it is pretty hard.
Yeah, Chaos and Triple Trouble do say, okay, have a few rings. Because they realise that it's really horrible what they were doing before. But it's cool that you get a chance against these.
I mean, it's good that they do because you're essentially doing 4 boss battles in a row.
Yeah, Metal Sonic's in this one. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
He just pops up.
Yeah.
He's not on the cover, so I didn't know he was in this one at first.
It really should be Quadruple Trouble. Then it would make sense for it to be the 4th game.
Yes.
No, Quintuple Trouble, because Giga Thomas. You have to consider all of the plot important characters, not just the ones who appeared again.
Just why it's the sequel to Sonic and Tails in Japan.
Yeah, you fight Metal Sonic in Atomic Destroyer, which is a full-on, it feels like Sonic and Knuckles Death Egg, really. That one visually looks it, too. Cool level, then just, flipping, yeah. This is where it feels very Superstarsy, because you fight one boss, then it's a Robotnik boss, and then you beat him and he moves on to another section, you have to follow him, and there's another bit of the Robotnik boss, and you beat that one, and you move on to another final section, and then, it's I'm sort of like they were taking notes when they were playing this one, when they were coming up with how to make Superstars last longer than it probably should have. That's it, I think. To be honest, I didn't check to see if what the difference was with the good ending and the bad ending. Is there any significant difference here? I just got the emeralds.
I don't think you get an ending, really. It's kind of like Sonic Chaos, where it won't play the credits if you haven't got the good ending. In the bad ending, Knack trips over something again at the end. In the bad ending, Knack trips over and drops all the emeralds that you haven't got yet, and then runs off with them. And then it just says try again, whereas in the good ending you get the credits complete with a medley of all the music from the game just to reconvince you that you're playing a little Mega Drive game in your pocket.
I'm actually a little bit disappointed that Knack it's funny that Knack comes back before the final boss. I kind of wish, if you got all the emeralds, he didn't. Because when you beat his final, special stage boss battle, you basically just drive him into the ground and bury him. That was so good, and I'd like to think he stays there. You just, spin attack him down like you're whacking down a nail with a hammer. It's very good, and he should die there.
It's a proper little scripted moment as well. It's not like this is just something you do as the boss battle continues. That's how you finish the boss. He gets stuck in the ground, and you have to hit him, and he's still stuck in the ground, and he'll stay there unless you keep hitting him until you just can't see him anymore. And then that's it. It's so genuinely funny. Yeah. Though seeing Knack at the end there without getting all the Chaos Emeralds on my first playthrough was very funny because literally he doesn't show up anywhere else in the game otherwise. So literally I was like, oh my god, it's Knack. And then he's posing there and voguing for you while his theme tune plays. And then there's a slight rumble and he's like, oh no, I'm scared, and runs away. And that's Knack's role in the game if you're not going for the Chaos Emeralds. It's genuinely really funny.
Knack truly is the Joseph Joestar of Triple Trouble. Just poses dramatically and then runs away.
A lot of very dubious friendships.
Illegitimate children, possibly in Japan. And then you get that cool ending bit that Jez described, which looks really nice if you're playing the Master System version, apparently. Sorry, not the Master System version.
I'm actually skipping ahead in the long play that we're watching together now in order to see what it was actually meant to look like.
I know, just a cute little... it's...
There is that nice little moment as well where you free Knuckles from his cage and love wins.
Yep.
They get married. That's how I interpreted that scene anyway.
Good for them.
Though it does make me laugh. I did quickly watch a Tails playthrough just to see whether, does he still save Knuckles at the end, or do they remove all the cutscenes, kind of like you get a little bit in some Sonic games. And they do still do the same thing where Tails extends his hand, but unlike Sonic, because Tails is so much shorter, Knuckles just sort of touches his hand with the very tips of his fingers, as if I'm not holding your hand. Sorry, you're not my type, Tails.
Piss off, Tails.
Down low, too slow.
By the way, according to the Sonic Fandom Wiki, and we know how reliable they are, in the special thanks section of the credits, an H. Kojima is credited. And it says, this may refer to Hideo Kojima, the
Shut the fuck up.
although it is not confirmed and may be coincidental.
Shut the fuck
I just
up.
want to be like...
I don't usually comment on wiki things for obvious reasons, but shut the fuck up.
I mean, okay.
He's the only other Japanese person I know that has the initial H. Kojima. Oh, I play video
Devil's
games.
advocate. This game does have a lot more plot and story than the previous ones, and also Giga Thomas does kind of sound like a Metal Gear boss name a little bit.
Oh, I want the Hideo Kojima cut of this, where before every Mac battle, there's it cuts to a archival footage of the First World War as Sonic just repeats something he says over and over.
Is Knack Johnny Sasaki's persona, just crapping his pants and lighting himself on fire all the time?
See, I do now need someone to reanimate that gun twirling thing with Revolver Ocelot, but with Knack.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine we finish this episode today, and then tomorrow Hideo Kojima on his Instagram just drops a screenshot of Giga Thomas and says, "I made this," and we have to make a drop in.
Well, it wouldn't be the first
We
time.
might have to hang it up after that.
When I envisioned this character, he was voiced by Kiefer Sutherland. You see.
Oh, man. I know. I was just talking to somebody online saying you can hold two thoughts in your heart. One is that I love Kojima games. I like his style. I think he's not as artsy fartsy as a lot of people think. And I will forever hold it against him that he's a giant Hollywood fanboy that just wants to put American stars in his games. But
Yeah, I was going to say, it wouldn't have been Kiefer. It was the early 90s, so it would have been Jack Nicholson.
Oh, boy.
That's pretty much Sonic Triple Trouble and pretty much all of the Game Gear games and Master System games we want to cover today.
Every single Master System, Game Gear, Sonic 2D platformer that ever existed. And we will not take any further questions.
Come on, that is Tails Adventure Eraser, and you know it.
No, that one's... I need to actually play that one properly.
Tails Adventure, you could probably get away with being a pedant and say that's more of an RPG than a platformer.
I was tempted to just play Sonic Blast for as long as I could cope with it, just to throw it in there at the end. But luckily I didn't have time or the want to, and maybe that is how far I was able to play it after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a shame, because as far as I'm aware, it was made by the same team as Triple Trouble, clearly with half the budget, half the time. They probably spent all of the time just making those crunched up pre-rendered sprites, and then quickly had to make a game to put them in afterwards. What a shame.
I don't know if we'll ever cover it unless we cover shit ones.
That's the problem.
It's never stopped us before.
That's the problem with it. It's one of those bad games that isn't bad, funny bad. It's just boring to play. It feels like one of those. Yeah, it feels like a fan game that you would have downloaded in the early 2000s from someone who's just learning how to use click and play, to make their own little fan Sonic game, and knows absolutely nothing about level design yet, but they vaguely know what a Sonic level looks like. So, yeah.
All there really was missing was Sonic throwing apples, really, to have that real click and play experience.
Then we could forgive some of its shortcomings. No, but I think all four of these games we've talked about today are absolutely worth playing. And like with few caveats, like, yes, I do still think you should give yourself the best opportunity to like them. So like I said, put them in whatever emulator gives you the easiest time with rewind and save states. I think that's totally fine. You know, if you want to play these on real hardware, go right ahead. But if you're not 8 years old with unlimited free time, you might be hamstringing yourself there.
Definitely.
But I think all of these like deserve to be treated as like full Sonic games, and like I said, like I have a special place in my heart for the first two, not anywhere near as special as our guest today, but I'm totally okay with that. But yeah, if you want to start with one of the Sonic and Tails games, Chaos or Triple Trouble, go for it. And I like them a lot. I used to think these didn't count in like the Sonic oeuvre for whatever reason. Again, one of those thoughts I had much younger that I couldn't really articulate, and now I'm like, no, that's silly. These are Sonic games, and I'm glad they're around. I'm glad they're still around in fandom. I'm glad lots of things from them have been incorporated into newer games. I'm glad Knack Fang is still around because I love that dumb bastard. So absolutely, I would encourage you to go out and play these.
It is a shame that people have. I mean, I can understand that maybe they don't like them because they are like Sonic 2 in particular is really hard, and the screen crunch on the Game Gear version isn't great. So I can understand like not getting along with it, but I do feel like people only getting to play the Game Gear versions has hurt their legacy a little bit, and it's because Sega won't re-release the Master System one, so they don't get at least the best possible official way of playing it. And it's a bit of a shame that, because I saw when people got Sonic Origins Plus and they finally got to play the Game Gear ones, I was like, oh, these are shit, actually. I'm like, no, they're not the best versions of them, but... And they're not... It's complicated because I guess I just have a lot of like attachment to Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 in particular, even if I sucked at Sonic 2 in particular. And I wish it got a better reputation.
I mean, I definitely would even push back on that reputation as someone who didn't grow up with these and played them recently, both Master System and Game Gear versions now. And I'm like, again, I think people just might need to get over themselves a little bit. Like, you have to put in the effort to meet these games in the context of when they were out, and they haven't been officially remade with quality of life improvements. And even though I'm all for that kind of thing when it's done correctly, you still need to be able to, visit old games in meet them where they were. Like, I feel like for me, the closest other thing I have is I really like the Earthbound series, Mother series. Have I played all the games in the series? No, because I also learned who Ness was from Smash Brothers. But when they put out, I think I started with a fan translation, and then when they officially released Mother 1 in English, I absolutely went back to that game and loved playing through it, even though it is much jankier than the Super Nintendo Earthbound. It is not as charming, but I was absolutely worth playing because you get to see not to make a pun on a Sonic podcast, but the genesis of the idea of the game you've heard so much about. And my eventual playing of Earthbound was like all the more richer for it. So I'm glad I played an old game that was a little more difficult.
I'm glad you did that as well. Like, you played it before Earthbound, because I played Earthbound first and then went back to Earthbound Beginnings and was like, oh, I can see literally all the things that they lifted from this game for Earthbound now. It's so much of it. And don't get me wrong, I think Earthbound Beginnings is a really pleasant little title, but yeah, it's like, oh man, they just basically got it right on the SNES version.
Yes, basically. I'm glad I had that, I'm sure, very unique experience for people who would say they are fans of Earthbound, is that I actually played the first one first. But yeah, I feel like that can apply here too, is you play these games, and they're older games, just because they are difficult in spots, and we've already discussed like the places we think are just not fun. But just because an older game is hard because of the format doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. I hope I'm making sense. Saying
it
all
makes
that.
perfect sense to me. I don't.
I just feel like you're in a situation, like, even if you can't bring yourself to play these games all the way through, just watch someone who's good at them play them, because there are people who've played these a lot and get used to them. Or just listen to Bridge Zone over and over again. I do that sometimes. I'm really happy.
Yeah, that works
Whenever I
too.
think back to pleasanter times, is that's the song that we've associated. Like I said in the first time we talked about it, is within the collective unconsciousness, we've all know Bridge Zone, even if we've never played it. It's like we know what it means to us somehow.
That's right. So look forward to playing through Bridge Zone and Persona 4 Revival coming next year.
Oh, Lord. Oh.
My stance is basically the same as it was the last time we had this discussion. These games are worth playing. Do not shackle yourself to playing a certain way, whichever is most comfortable for you, whether it be, purist on original hardware, going back through emulation, or just playing through those unofficial remakes, any of them, literally. Just do what feels right to you. Like, we're not going to gatekeep you. We're not going to gatekeep these games or shame you for playing a specific version. Just do what's fun.
I don't know, Jez, where do you stand on that particular issue?
I'm a guest, so I'll do tons of gatekeeping. Play the original, only play the original. No, I'm joking. I did actually want to, I didn't get an opportunity to mention it. I forgot all about it. There is another Sonic 2 remake project in the works that might be worth checking out for people. Even to me, like the other one, they've made some artistic decisions that already are like, no, that's not the same as the one I grew up with. It's terrible. But like for someone who's not as a precious little fussy baby about it as I am, it's a really promising little project. It's called, I think they're going by another Sonic 2 remake at the moment, AS2R. And their YouTube channel is, if you just look up Just John 43, it's a really again, like their personal reimaginings of expanding these old, quite simple 8-bit visuals into like a more expansive environment, not quite matching up with my headcanon of what those environments are. So already I'm like, but it's so beautifully crafted. They're doing like full 2D animation for all of it. Where Sonic Chaos has gone for Sonic Mania and Sonic Triple Trouble went for Sonic 3 and Knuckles, this is going for its own original style, inspired by the original game. And it's just they seem to be really chipping away at it and always progressing every time I check in on it. So it's a pretty cool little project, and that's worth giving a shout out to as well. But yeah, my stance is, if you're going to play the remake version of Sonic 2, the more well-known one, just bear in mind that there's a bunch of stuff that's different here. It like adds Oil Ocean Zone, it takes out Green Hills Zone, it moves some bosses around. Obviously, the level design's quite different, varying to different degrees depending on the zone. Like, definitely play it, definitely give it a shot. A ton of people absolutely love it. It wasn't for me as a die-hard fan. It's still an excellent little fan game, it's still a solid little Sonic platformer, and if you prefer that version, that's great. Just don't let me catch you saying that you've played Sonic 2 or it's the definitive version. Not because I'll get angry or argue with you, it's because I'll cry.
Because you can't handle the fact we're right.
Ooh.
No. Well,
I kid.
You just added another hour to this podcast.
Cool, I'm going to go take a break. See you guys later.
It's fine. You guys don't have to be here for it. I'll just go in the angry dome about it.
I was just thinking you're like Professor Farnsworth, just like silently yelling.
Except the angry dome has water going down the sides of it, like the cool little domes there.
And there's a lot of pin-up girls there.
But yeah, that pretty much brings us to our end of our discussion. Jez, thank you again so much for coming back. I'm sorry that we've discouraged you from ever returning.
No. I'm sorry that GameBuddy is going to have to just take a knife to everything, like a sledgehammer to everything that I yelled about the entire time, and trim this down into something listenable.
It wouldn't be the first time. For the people who, I don't know, didn't listen to the last couple episodes where we had you on, where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. I'm JezMM. I don't do anything like hugely major in the Sonic community, but I draw plenty of Sonic fan art. You might have seen a few of my Sonic comics that went viral kind of thing, just humor ones. But yeah, generally I do art and comics. I do a weekly comic each week called Chamomile, which is just a slice of life ongoing story. Nothing to do with Sonic. I avoid nerdy references to pop culture and stuff in it, but you can read it knowing that I'm a Sonic nerd. Yeah. Thank you. So you can pretty much find links to all of my socials at JezMMArt.com, where you can find my comic as well. But yeah, I'm on Blue Sky under JezMM. I'm on Tumblr as JezMM Art. Still on DeviantArt, not on the bad site anymore. But yeah, Blue Sky is probably the best place to hang out, so to speak. But yeah, you can find all my stuff on JezMMArt.com.
Fantastic. You can find our podcast in a couple different places, usually at Sonic F or Sonic F Series, and you can find me all over the place at CyberLink 420.
You can find me on Blue Sky at jeremybaker.actor and around the rest of the internet as GameBuddy, sometimes with a 123 at the end.
You can find me all across the internet, except for the bad place, that one. You can Faulerro, where I will occasionally be sharing some of the saucy cheesecake Amy Rose art that JezMM has drawn. That's FAULERRO.
Love that jingle. You can find me across the internet as RockTheJake, and you can find me on twitch.tv as Mr. RockTheJake.
Special thanks, as always, go out to Amy Waters for use of our theme song from the album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp. And, of course, please remember to subscribe, review, share the show around. Just help us, spread our influence a little bit more, so maybe we can get more people to, play these classic games and also verify which one of us is actually right. The answer may surprise you. On our next episode, we're going from one controversial Sonic game to another as we jump into Sonic Riders, a game with a very high skill floor that I probably like more than most people. I think that once you get the hang of that game, it is incredibly satisfying in a way that the sequel did not do, and we don't talk about the third one. But I'm really interested to go back and revisit this just before Crossworlds comes out to see how the board mechanics compare between the two.
Yeah. I think that's why I haven't been dreading this revisit, but I just realized I don't think I've played the original Riders since it came out. And I remember playing through it. I think I shared the story where my save data corrupted right after I unlocked Supersonic the first time. So then I did it all over again. So I was obviously got decently good at the original one, but I haven't played it in so long. I'm going to go in with an open mind and hopefully be pleasantly surprised, because a lot of people really hold the Riders games up as some of their favorite racers. Now, are those Sonic fans and thus may not have played many other racers? Yes, but but mean jokes aside, I'm looking forward to finally revisiting this game, and hopefully it's as fun as I remember as a kid, which is not something I should have said out loud. Now I've definitely doomed myself to disappointment. We'll make it, folks. It'll be a good episode, I promise.
Oh man, I've never actually played this one, I don't think. So this is new to me, other than seeing the cutscenes, which is a valid way of playing certain Sonic games, apparently, is just watching it on YouTube. But I'm definitely interested to give it a go, because it looks different, and different is sometimes good in Sonic, I hope.
Hey, remember that cool anime intro? That was cool.
It was.
That is something I'm definitely can say is still cool.
But until then, I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy.
I'm Faulerro.
I'm RockTheJake.
I'm JezMM. And you. We didn't mention at any point during the episode, but all of the Sonic 8-bit games, the credits end with thanking you, the player.
Oh, yeah. I almost brought that up. They do have and special thanks to, and you.
Well played.
Yes, viewers.
And to players like you. This has been The Hill is Always Greener, and we'll see you on the other side.
In a way, the quote real game is exploring the levels and steadily building up those 100 coins. And oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. I'm a Sonic fan. I just said 100 coins. It's because you get a star for doing 100 coins in Mario. Okay, but yeah, like
You actually got cut off there, so you had like plausible deniability to not admit that you said coins.
Good. I'll just
The recording knows.
no. I can edit that before I send it over to GameBuddy.
I solemnly swear, cross my heart, to edit that particular one so where it's
Okay.
definitely doesn't sound like you said coins instead of
No, just put a Mario coin sound in instead.
I was gonna say.
I can give you a few. I can give you a few clean reads of rings, 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 rings. There you go. Choose whichever one works.